It's that time of the week again where we get to go road racing here on SimTV, and tonight it's round 4 of the Virtual Mid-Atlantic Road Race Series at Virginia International Raceway, Finney. And this is a beautiful racetrack out here. Sun is going down, the track is gripping up, and there's 36 cars on track about to get ready to go racing. Mustangs and MX-5s. Last week we were at Sebring in the GT3 machinery, and what a wild event that was, with several drivers running out of gas in the final lap. But now we're back to what we know best, the Mustangs and MX-5s, and Finney, what a racetrack this place is.
Yeah, definitely what a racetrack it is. Not a lot of series that come here, though, unfortunately, and I think it's a great racetrack that doesn't see as much action as it should, and this should put on a great show for these guys tonight.
And we got Dominic back with us here again this week. Dominic, Virginia International Raceway, known for a lot of things, but it's very, very narrow. This is a very tricky track to drive a big car on, and after coming away from Sebring, which was relatively wide, how will the drivers have to adapt to the narrowing of this track surface here this week?
Well, God, they're definitely going to have to be aware of the fact that places where they may have been able to, at Sebring, for instance, been able to make a pass with the track being wider, they're going to have to really calculate where they're going to make their passes here. And so I know down turn 1, it's a relatively wide area, so that's a place where you can go multiple cars deep, and so drivers will really think at the start trying to be aggressive to gain some positions. But then as you get up into the climbing S's and so forth, you have the challenge of really having to stay right behind your competitor, and it's not really until you get to Oak Tree where you have the opportunity to overtake the person in front of you. So a lot of patience needs to be shown here by these drivers, especially in the opening laps.
And you mentioned the great Oak Tree here, and it's one of the greatest hairpins in all of motorsport here. And fortunately, iRacing has not updated Virginia International Raceway, which means that the tree still stands, unlike in real life. So very happy to see the tree still there. Prime overtaking spot, but this is a beautiful racetrack here tonight. 80 degrees in the air, 90 degrees Fahrenheit on the track condition, 20 turns around Virginia International Raceway as counted by ATVO. So, Vinny, this is probably one of the more complex tracks we're going to see here. There's a lot of turns here, and it's a very tricky place to memorize. It's almost, I hesitate to call it the American Nürburgring, but it's kind of like that.
Yeah, and here's a very treacherous corner. As you can see, people already being treacherous here. This blind right-hander is definitely going to catch some drivers off guard here. This is one I honestly kind of hate that turn because it's so hard to set up for. As you can't see it, and by the time you see it, you're already taking the corner.
Don Manning, the number 92, working his way around Oak Tree and heading up the hill, and very long straightaways here. The slipstream going to be a huge factor here today. After coming off of Summit Point, and then Mid-Ohio, our first 2 rounds with this class setup. The slipstreaming there was relatively minimal, relegated to a couple straightaways, but here, Fitting, again, take a look at the track map on the bottom left of your screen, and there was a lot of straightaway on that backstretch.
Yeah, definitely some guys are going to take advantage from that with the big hole that some of these cars push through the air and trying to build up a run, make a pass down here.
You see, this is the multi-class situation here today, Finian. Again, we always talk about the MX-5s being quick in the corners, but especially through this SS sections, the MX-5 is not that much slower than the Mustang, and it's going to create for an interesting multi-class setup, especially considering how tricky it is to pass around here.
Yeah, it's especially tricky considering how narrow the track is. It's probably one of the more narrow tracks on the service, so passing here is going to be difficult for these guys, especially when you're faster. You know you're faster, and trying to work through traffic, and you're just kind of stuck behind single file.
That's right on board the 75 right now, heading up through the S's under the VIR bridge. Past the resort over there on the left as we head up. First of all, this is one of the prettiest racetracks in the United States. I think it's up there with Watkins Glen for sure in terms of how beautiful it is to look at, but the curbing here, very small, very minimal, and the elevation change obviously going to throw these cars off a little bit. Right here you can see the 75 jumping a tire over the edge of the racetrack. Going to see that a lot here tonight, especially with the Mustangs. Very easy to get yourself off course. We have one up the road that has gone off. I believe that is, I don't know if that's Michael Mob. Nope, who is that?
Yeah, it might be Pelota.
I was looking at that car earlier. And it's not Pelota.
Landy?
No, they're switching paint schemes on us. I was looking at this guy earlier, and I have to find him now, because it's going to drive me nuts.
No.
It's not Herbst. It's going to be... Oh man, I just saw it. It's driving me nuts.
We're gonna have to go through the entire grid.
Oh man, I want to find who this car is. It's gonna drive me up the wall. Paul Gibson in the 31 is who it is.
There we go.
So Paul Gibson running the Indiana banner on the side of that car here tonight. Yeah, I got my nice little Google document with all the information of a lot of these drivers here tonight. And Paul Gibson, I don't even see him on here, unfortunately. I was going to read out a fun fact.
Nope, I don't see him either.
No fun facts today for the number 31. And again, Paul Gibson's been quick here lately, but hasn't yet put a time down and ran off the track this time through, so has yet to lay down a time in class, so currently 16th. Jeff Jacobs in the 38 has come into pit road and has already run a 2:04.1. I do expect those lap times to maybe come up or come down just a little bit. Greg Obadia in the number 66 working his way through the racetrack right now, and you see the car jump over the bumps here, a huge chunk of curb heading down the hill.
Yeah, and Obadia, solid lap time. He put 16 thousandths of a second behind Jacobs, but he's going to come across the line. Does he improve? And there's the stripe. And no improvement from the 66, so he's going to have to... Or that was an outlap, actually. So
yeah, it's hard to improve on 16 thousandths of a second behind the leader. There's certainly some pretty close action here right now, but I will say the top five have kind of separated themselves from the rest of the field. We look down towards the MX-5 category, and not much of a surprise. We see Kenneth House-Seal, the number 23, on point right now. 0.3 of a second over DJ Alessandrini, who's won the last couple races.
He won the last couple races, and currently the points leader in the MX-5 class. So
that's how you get the points lead.
Yeah.
Keep winning races. So I think Alessandrini and House-Seal, again, obviously the ones to beat here tonight. But it's a long race, 78 minutes on the board here tonight, so we got to survive all of it with all the multi-class action. I don't expect a lot of lap traffic here tonight just because of the size of this racetrack, but it certainly will happen. Dominic, I want to ask you a little bit about the multi-class interaction, especially at a racetrack. We mentioned how narrow this place is, but the multi-class interaction, if you're a Mustang, what kind of, how do you adjust your patience level here this week? It's a little bit longer of a race than we normally run. It's 78 minutes. But also, the track's narrower, and there's going to be a lot of MX-5s here tonight. So how do you manage the traffic at a track so narrow?
Well, Kyle, I'll tell you that, especially in these climbing S's, I think it's going to be a lot harder for the Mustangs to go flat out, as where the MX-5s, I think, will have a bit of an easier job. And as mentioned before, it's not really until you get to the back straight after Oak Tree where the track starts to widen and you open up those passing opportunities. And at the end of that straight, you have Hog Pen, which then leads to the front straightaway. But really, there isn't, as you mentioned before, aren't too many passing opportunities. And for some of these Mustangs or some of the MX-5s who get stuck behind cars in another class, it's gonna really take some patience in order for them to all negotiate things and have everyone come out unscathed.
And you mentioned that long back straightaway. We were just riding on board with Alessandrini there. The MX-5's really kind of tapping out there in their rev range here, Finian. It's about as fast as they can go. The Mustangs, however, they still got some juice left. There's Kyle Herbst has gone to the top of the board in that number 89 Volt Mustang.
And yeah, this 89 really hoping for some luck this week. Hasn't really found it. Last 2 weeks has been involved in some incidents. And looking for a good finish, but doing a great job now with that provisional pole. And
Forrest Landy in the number 4 Mustang was our winner the last time we were here with Mustangs at Mid-Ohio a few weeks ago. And currently 4th on the grid as we work our way now under 5 minutes remaining left in qualifying. Kenneth House-Seal remains on top in the MX-5 category. Chip Disharoon in the number 75, 3rd in class for the MX-5s. Richard Spicer in 4th in the number 56. Here sitting on pit lane, looks like he's pretty content with that lap.
So seeing familiar names at the top of the boards on both in both fields.
We got a nice, cool camera here this week on the Mustangs and the MX-5s, but we'll probably only use it on the Mustangs, is the suspension cam on the right front here, and this is a great shot to see how much brake these Mustangs use. Remember, the brakes on these Mustangs are very small, and there's a lot of hard braking zones here tonight, so I think Dennis Barrett's coming up to speed here, but you will see those brake rotors glow here. You see them just getting a little tint of orange working into Oak Tree now, but those brakes going to get a workout here tonight. And we'll check back in at the end of the straightaway here just to get a look at them, but Dennis Barrett in 11th in class right now.
Yeah, definitely. As the night as the race goes on, these guys are going to use up their brakes a lot more and more as the tires start to wear out. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that camera, and we'll also check now as Barrett's approaching the end of the straightaway. And this is probably one of the heaviest braking zones on the track.
Yeah, over 137, 140 miles an hour onto the brakes. You see the brake rotors glowing there, and that's just on an outlap here for the number 83. So a lot of brake heat going to be needed to be dissipated in those Mustangs. And Dominic, when we talk about dissipating brake heat, the straightaways are long enough here to cool off the brakes. But if you're in a late race battle, is that something you have to worry about?
Yeah, Kyle, it's definitely something that these drivers are going to have to be worried about, because heading into turn 1 is one of the highest sustained speeds that these cars will do, and then after Oak Tree, down that back straight into Hog Pen is another place where they're going to have to slow down from a great amount of speed. So definitely going to use the straightaways the best they can to cool off the brakes, but it's really going to, I think, come down to a braking battle here after this 78-minute event to see who saved their equipment the best and who can push the car till the conclusion of this race.
And you mentioned in the braking zones, Finian, one of the fun things about these kinds of race cars, the Mustang especially, you can't cheat on the downshifts here. You got to heel toe all the way. And when you got braking zones, as long as you have VIR, it means the guys that are best at shifting and braking are probably going to be the ones to beat here today.
Yeah, definitely. So it takes a lot of technique to drive this place fast, and you're going to see those drivers who are able to do so rise to the top.
And this is a track of some frustration for me personally. I've never really found a way around here without going off track a bunch of times. This is one of the hardest places for me to learn. I think there's a lot of blind corners here that make the sight lines tricky. The curbing is really unforgiving. It's tall and narrow. So especially through the S's, it can unsettle downforce cars. These are a little bit more forgiving, though.
Yeah, and also, too, there's just not a lot of runoff at all. I don't think there's really any runoff.
None. Not zero.
Yeah, so it's really unforgiving track. If you make a mistake, you're caught in the grass, and a lot of times you're caught sliding towards the wall. So some of these drivers got to keep out for tonight.
Well, the good thing is the walls are generally pretty far away from the track, and there's a lot of tire barriers. But, I mean, it's just oceans of grass outside the pavement. And if you get off line, Finian, it's like ice, and you'll go sliding for hundreds of feet. And the danger with that is you go sliding off, especially heading towards Oak Tree. I mean, you could end up on the other side of the track. If you take a look at the track map here, if you take a look down by Oak Tree, that's a pretty narrow area. You could easily go sliding across that island of grass and take out an oncoming competitor. So got to tiptoe your way through there, even though you're going at high speed. Minute left in qualifying here, almost done. Jeff Jacobs has jumped to the top of the board at the number 38 by 58 thousandths of a second over Kyle Herbst. Kenneth Hausiel maintains the MX-5 pole with a 209.2, so about a 5-second a lap difference in lap time here. That's not hugely significant, but it's going to take a little while for the Mustangs to come around and lap the MX-5s. I want to thank everyone for joining us live here tonight on SimTV for the 4th round of the Virtual Mid-Atlantic Road Racing Series. It's been a pleasure working with this group so far, Finian. Some of the best racing we've seen on SimTV since its existence, and again, started back in February with all this, so it's relatively new to us, and it's always fun working with multi-class category racing just because there's always action to watch.
Yeah, definitely, especially the first 2 rounds at Summit Point in Mid-Ohio with these cars. Put on some fantastic racing in both classes nearly the entire night. And again, expect more of the same, as there's a really good competitive group of drivers in both classes towards the top of the field.
Yeah, I got a nice gyro cam on board here this week to watch the pitching and rolling of the Mustang drivers. And you see Louis Alessi right now working his way 13th in class and rolling that car up and over the curbs. Checker flag is in the air, but still 3 minutes on the board for any drivers that would wish to complete a lap. And Louis Alessi will get to complete this, and he's on the back straightaway now, heading towards Hog Pen. And looking at the speed there, 135, 136, 140 is what we saw as the top speed here, and heading down, careful on the curbs.
Yeah, you saw it got in a little bit too hot, almost spun, but he's going to keep it going. Is it enough, though, to advance his position?
All right, so we have 78 minutes of racing coming up here shortly, Finian. So we take a look at our Mustang category. We got quite a few Mustangs. Let's see, 15, 16, 17 Mustangs, 18, 19, 20, 21 Mustangs out of the 36 competitors. So a majority in the faster class here tonight. And we always know the Mustangs are competitive. But I think the MX-5s, the 3 drivers that have really stood out to me are Hausiel, Alessandrini, and Disharoon. They really seem to be the quickest ones every week. But the Mustangs have been kind of more of a toss-up. There's been kind of some comers and goers in the races. And Greg Obadia, the number 66, has jumped up to 4th in class into 4th place. So And maybe Greg's got something for the leaders here tonight.
Yeah, notably in the Mustangs, it's really a lot of the times a fight between Landy, Pelota, Jacobs, and Herbst. And Obadia now, like you're saying, looks like he's pretty strong tonight here. So anticipating a lot from that 66 car.
And you mentioned Pelota, and he went to the top of the board in the Mustangs by 0.3 of a second. So absolutely clobbered the rest of the field here in qualifying. And Dominic, again, we're talking all this about how difficult it is to pass here. Qualifying has obviously got to be a little bit more important here than it was a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, Kyle, that's absolutely the case, especially with, we've been mentioning the narrow nature of this track, as well as something we haven't talked much about is the elevation change here and how the kids really don't do justice to how much the road rises and falls here. So really with the nature of this track and the different elements it offers, having a good qualifying spot and having the people behind you try to feel things out, having an advantage over them will definitely pay dividends, and especially in a 78-minute event like this, it'll pay off once the checkered flag waves.
Yeah, so qualifying extremely important here. So Pelota and Hausil on pole for their respective classes, and I don't know, I'm really excited to watch those MX-5s fitting because this is a track that really suits the MX-5. There's a lot of momentum carrying around this place.
Yeah, especially especially through some of the SS sections, both of the first part of the lap and at the back part of it too. It's really kind of meant for these kind of cars where you can quickly change direction from going left to right. So that's, I think, going to be a lot of fun for those guys, and not so much for the Mustangs. That's a lot of weight transfer to do. So
Mustangs are really point-and-shoot race cars. The irony of all this is that the Mustang is really a point-and-shoot power car. You look at European circuits, there are a lot of tight corners, but they're real slow that require a lot of mechanical grip, but they're so point-and-shoot. In American courses, very curvy, twisty, lots of elevation change, courses that generally suit either downforce cars or cars that are built to handle like the MX-5. So there's a little bit of irony in the American car at the American road courses, but I mean, you take a look at like Watkins Glen. Obviously, it's a power racetrack, but also a downforce track. If you take a look at the carousel and the boot, the higher speed sections of Watkins Glen, Sonoma, California, that's also very twisty. Mid Ohio, not a whole lot of straightaway there either. But then you go look at a place like Spa, half the track's straightaway. Imola, same kind of thing. So the difference in design is pretty significant, but American courses always hold a place in my heart. Well, the field's gridding up here. Again, we got 36 cars about to get gridded and ready to go. Of course, Andrew Pelota in the number 96 on pole for the Mustangs. Andrew Pelota from Holly Springs, North Carolina. Been racing for 13 years in the SCCA solo category, so Pelota's got lots of experience. Kenneth Hausil from Royersford, Pennsylvania. Also SCCA autocross and pro solo driver. And has been racing for about 5 years now. So a big difference in experience between the Mustang and the MX-5 category pole winners. But they're both exceptional race car drivers. Yeah, everybody. Let's just make that statement. Everyone in this league in general is fantastic. It's actually, Finney, you and I were talking about this. It's so refreshing to come in here and watch guys that know what they're doing out there on the racetrack. Because I mean, there are some leagues that we've worked with that the on-track moves are questionable, but these guys race like they're driving the real cars, and that's the difference, I think, is them having that real road racing experience makes the racing so much better to watch.
Yeah, and I think it really just shows because, when you're driving on a sim, it's a sim, it's not real life, so you're going to throw in moves there knowing that, A, you're not going to get hurt, and B, you're not going to have to pay for the car later, but a lot of these guys would have to do it, so they're not going to make dive-bomb moves unless they really want to and really want the win. But otherwise, they're going to be very calm and collected and make moves and make slow progress.
Well, let's take a look at our starting lineup. We're not going to read through the whole grid here. There's not really a point in doing that. There's 36 cars here, so we'll just read through the first couple rows. Andrew Pelota in the number 96 alongside Kyle Herbst. Both those guys in Ford Mustangs. The 96 going to be starting on the inside, Herbst on the outside.
Moving back to row number 2, we got Jeff Jacobs in the 38 starting in third, and in fourth, Greg Obadia in the 66.
Good qualifying effort by Obadia. We'll move back to row number 3 in 5th place. We'll have Forrest Landy, the winner at Mid-Ohio a couple weeks ago. Paul Gibson in the 31, going to be P6, recovered after a little bit of a rough start to qualify.
Row 4, we'll have in 7th Michael Monaghan in the 05, and then outside of him with Brian Saab in the 21.
Moving back to row number 5, 9th place. It's going to be Stephen Ott in the number 24 Mustang alongside Cameron Bidwell in the number 13. So we'll let the rest of this roll down through until we get to the MX-5 category. We'll read off the front runners there. But the field, this is a long pace lap here, and it's very fast. The pace cars, I mean, they're doing about 60 miles an hour around here. That's not slow for Virginia International Raceway. Lots of curvy, twisty sections. Hard to keep up, actually.
Especially because that's a Porsche and on rail, so it's just going to go flying through the corners while these guys actually have to race through them half the time.
Working our way underneath the bridge now, so still a ways to go yet as we continue watching the starting grid roll through the bottom of your screen.
There you see Kenneth Hausil is going to be the leading Mazda MX-5 driver in the 23.
19th overall will be Don Manning. So actually Don Manning will be starting in front of Hausil, but DJ Alessandrini will be sharing the front row with Kenneth Hausil in that number 191. These are overall starting positions here. So Alan Claffey will be 21st, but will be starting ahead of the MX-5 of Chip Disharoon. So the rest of this, you see, that's the problem though. A little bit of intermixing. The speed difference is obvious here as we watch the rest of the starting order roll through here, as we work our way now through Oak Tree. The speed difference is only about 5 seconds, so the slower Mustangs will probably be in the way of the MX-5s here a little bit. And that's typical of what we've normally seen, but I think it's going to be even worse here because it's so hard to pass that the Mustangs are going to, especially the slower Mustangs, will have a really hard time getting through the MX-5 traffic. Curious to see how much of a gap they'll leave here.
Yeah, interested in it as well. I mean, it's not going to matter too much until you see some Mustangs here starting in the back.
Well, now, turn one. That's a tight corner, Finney. And you got 21 Mustangs rolling their way down there through there. So there's something to be said about taking your time.
Yeah, definitely. Especially, again, how tight this track is. You can really make you antsy and try to make passes where you probably wouldn't otherwise. So it really takes a lot of patience here to make sure that you got your head on your shoulders and making moves where you need to and not where you want to, because that can lead to a lot of wrecks.
At the end of the back straightaway now, heading through the last couple of corners. Andrew Pelota and the number 96 will lead them down to green, but the pace car, they're letting the pace car get a little bit of a jump here on them, and the MX-5s are also leaving a gap as well, a pretty sizable one, in fact. And pace car is about to pull off and release the field for 78 minutes, approximately 38 laps of racing if everything goes as planned. Pace car is going to peel off, and that's going to leave Andrew Pelota in charge of the field alongside Kyle Herbst. Green flag in the air here at Virginia International Raceway for round 4, the virtual Mid-Atlantic Road Race Series.
They're going to get underway here side by side, heading towards turn 1.
And Herbst did not get a very good start. The 66 of Abadia right up the rear bumper, trying to get close. And it's a little bit of chaos down into turn 1 as drivers trying to find their way through, but so far clean as we work our way through turns 1 and 2.
And Force Landy almost got a piece of, I believe, Jacobs there, almost got into the back of them, but they kept their cars in one piece. But here comes the Mazda field now. They're heading to turn 1.
And also clean for them. A little bit of contact there with the 195. That's John Sainz. And the Mustang, Ido Waxman there in the number 36. A little bit of contact there, but the damage is minimal, and they'll continue. Mustangs working their way through the twisty parts now, heading up towards the S's.
Yeah, these guys are all single file out up towards the front of the field now, trying to fall into a rhythm to chase down one another.
Andrew Pelota's jumped away now. The rest of the Mustangs work their way through. Paul Gibson kind of holding up Stephen Ott there in the number 24. Brian Saab behind him. And they're nose to tail as we work our way through the S's. And you see Kenneth Hausil maintained the MX-5 lead. Chip Disharoon right behind him. Alessandrini in third as they jump up over the curbs. Nose to tail.
Yeah, this is typical of what we've seen from this class, that these guys really kind of stay in a pack almost of sorts.
See the Mustangs work their way through Oak Tree for the first time here. Long lap here. Hausil flies into Oak Tree Bend, and you see the Mustang, that's Ido Waxman with the damage, just getting through the front of the MX-5 field. Back up front, Kyle Herbst is driven right to the rear bumper of Andrew Pelota and is trying to get around.
Yeah, he's trying to put on a lot of pressure here, maybe force Pelota to make a mistake again. It's very early on, so these guys probably taking it a little bit easy here, except for Herbst, but
yeah,
well, he looks like he really wants to lead.
Herbst lost the rear end a little bit. He takes a huge chunk of curb heading down towards the last couple of corners, and
he's got a run here.
Got a huge run, and here he comes to the inside of Andrew Pelota. Pelota's not going to fight it. We've got a battle for the lead here in the Mustang category.
And you see Forrest Landy 2 on the 4 trying to work on the inside of, I believe, Monaghan. Or sorry, I think that might be Obadia.
Indeed it is. So Landy's to the inside of Obadia. And Herbst goes for the lead, and now Jacobs trying to attack Pelota.
Oh, Landy off the track there.
And back on, saved it. Back up to the MX-5 class. Kenneth Halseal drives off into turn 1 with a 4/10 of a second lead. And behind him, a little bit chaotic here without a Waxman trying to make his way through the field. To the outside now. Oh, just clipping the grass there. It's a very sketchy moment for the Mustang.
Yeah, it cost him a bit of time trying to work through this traffic here. And he's got a lot, again, all these guys are nose to tail, so it's really tough to work through the fastest of the Mazda field.
And if you're taking a look at the top of the ticker, you see 15 minutes remaining. It's an hour and 15. And of course, our timer only goes up to 60 minutes. So, and when it ticks over to 0 seconds and 0 minutes, it'll be another 60 after that to complete. So, an hour and 15 minutes left in this race. We head back up to the front, and Pelota's not letting Herbst get away. 3.5 tenths between the two Mustang leaders.
Yeah, and I think this is really going to be the battle for the win in the class overall from these two drivers. These both seem really fast compared to the competitors. You see Herbst sliding through Oak Tree.
A little bit wide on corner exit, and that's going to allow Pelota to get a massive run down this back straightaway. And Dominic, is it too early to be making moves in drafting if you're in the Mustangs, or is it just go time the whole way today?
Well, Kyle, it's going to be an interesting balance because while you want to stay in front of your competitors, you also want to conserve your equipment. So there's a real challenge there to balance between pushing your car and conserving your car in order to attack at the end. So it's going to be something that these drivers are going to have to focus on as this race goes on.
And conserving equipment indeed. You see Pelota back off the throttle at the end of the long straightaway, and will stay tucked in behind Kyle Herbst now. And, yeah, maybe a little bit early. Oh, Herbst off track again, just drops a wheel, and he's going to actually give the lead away to Andrew Pelota. So one little mistake there for Herbst will swap positions up front and potentially lose a third spot to Jeff Jacobs. But, Finian, also fuel saving a factor here tonight. The Mustangs will have to make one pit stop and will have to save quite a bit of fuel to make it to the end of the race. So maybe staying in behind and using the slipstream, not a terrible idea.
Yeah, I definitely think that's probably the best option for some of these guys. Again, you have to save elsewhere. Also, short shift and do all those kind of things to save any gas that you can. But yeah, any little bit can really go a long way.
Dennis Barrett trying to fight off Dave Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald's brakes already glowing, and also some damage to the nose of that number 91. So Fitzgerald's been into the back of someone, but it's been slight, and maybe we'll ride on board with the number 91 to see if it doesn't look like it was the 83. So someone else up the road probably has a rear bumper indentation. Pretty calm so far, Finian. The MX-5s especially have spread out more than I would have thought they would. So Halseal leads by half a second over TJ Alessandrini. Up the road, Forrest Landy, Michael Monaghan, Paul Gibson, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, Landy, we saw he went off the track a little bit, lost some time to Obadia, and is trying to chase that back down again. Still in the top 5, but hoping for a little bit better. He's probably hoping for a little bit better as his competitors are doing fairly well in the championship standings.
And Herbst is trying to chase down Pelota. I think Herbst is a little bit quicker than Pelota at this stage of the race, but has not been keeping it on course as well as Pelota, and that's obviously a huge factor here. You can't be dropping wheels the whole race. You're going to dig out the areas behind the curbs as well as get dirt and crap on your tires. It's going to make you slow down, as well as potential for spinning out. So Herbst again looking aggressive. Will he make the pass down here? Might just stay tucked in behind, and he will.
Yeah, I thought he was. You got really close to his back bumper, so he's going to wait on that potential pass.
Forrest Landy's got Michael Monaghan all up under the rear wing.
Yeah, Monaghan looking really racy.
And no real intense battles right now in the MX-5 category, so we'll take you there when there is one. Mustangs right now also getting themselves kind of separated out. It's still a long way to go, but now for the lead, side by side again, Pelota going to give it to Herbst.
Yeah, Herbst with a great run. He's really good at getting good runs out of that last corner, so he's doing a solid job here.
You see the brakes really glowing on that number 89, though. We talked about conserving equipment. The 89 certainly not taking any prisoners. He's out front pushing the car.
Yeah, I think he feels like he's going to try to make sure to get as far ahead as he can from the rest of these drivers, because I think he realizes that they are in a pack, so I'm thinking he's feeling if he can try to drive a little bit faster now, he'll be able to build a bit of a gap to work with later on.
And about fuel savings, Dominic, is there anything other than slipstreaming that you can do to fuel save? Maybe short shift a little bit?
So, short shifting, and I would think just falling behind somebody would be the best ways to conserve fuel. because as they stand right now, all these cars have a pretty big tank of fuel. But again, as this is a longer event that they've had from previous weeks, you're gonna see the cars struggling to have enough fuel at the end. And we've seen events already where cars have run out of fuel as the race goes on. So being able to conserve that fuel is important.
Absolutely. You mentioned people running out of fuel at Sebring.
Notably, Landy's out.
Oh, Forrest Landy, horrible collision in the number 4. We'll go back and take a look at what caused it, but obviously off track. And he was side by side with Michael Monaghan here coming up through the S's.
This is a very dangerous part of the track to be side by side.
Yeah, and jumps the curb, and Monaghan also jumps and just ran out of space. And Landy takes a vicious impact into the Armco. That's going to be day over for the 4. A terrible wreck here with about an hour and 10 minutes remaining. Right on board with Monaghan and maybe get a different angle here. And again, I think this is a bit early to be side by side, don't you think, Finian?
Yeah, I think so. And it's a very, very tough part to be. I would say it's better to do side by side in the Mazdas there, not so much in the Mustangs, because the Mustangs are again very hard to move around the track.
Another look at it. And actually, let's maybe go up from above here. Yeah, Monaghan jumped the curb, but I don't know if you could blame him. I want to get one more look at this before we head back live.
Yeah, I think that's just a racing incident, just due to the nature of these cars. It's just so hard to try, because you can't really let off on your turning between going left and right there, so you gotta give it your all, and unfortunately they ended up finding each other. And
I also want to take a look at the 13 of Cameron Bidwell, also off track here in a collision, and didn't see what caused that car to lose control, but we're going to go back and try to find it. And indeed, I just have. So let's take another look at what happened to the 13 Mustang. Up over the curbs and just too much throttle here, Finian, and just starts chasing it, gets on the grass, and then pounds it into the tire barrier. Self-wreck there for the 13 of Bidwell.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, that's going to end his day right then and there on the wall.
And Sebastian Landy, we're just catching up on all the incidents that have happened here. Get a look at what happened to the number 8 Mustang.
And I believe he got himself free, potentially, of the...
Oh, just missed his braking zone, drove off track, Finian, and...
Oh, did he decide to call it quits?
Just called it quits. Back up, Mustangs, they're working their way through their first lap car of Rick Cohn in the number 27 Miata, but Herbst now leads by 0.4 of a second over Pelota, but Mustangs working their way through the first traffic they've seen. Hausil and Alessandrini closing up now for first and second in the MX-5 category.
Yeah, it's not the first run-in these guys have had with each other. They've been chasing each other this entire season so far. This is the third time they found each other on the track yet again.
And we'll ride on board Alessandrini here just to watch the slipstream process. 0.3 of a second, 0.4 now, but we'll see how much of this Alessandrini gains back in the draft zone. Already down to 0.3, so gained 1.
Yeah, it's a slow game, but yeah, by the time you start getting a decent effect, you're already at the braking zone.
Yeah, 0.2 of a second made up though on that straightaway. As you see Alessandrini working his way down, and hook that curb on the inside. You can use the curbs in this section, but the S's you kind of want to stay away.
Yeah, you really do. It's a little too much risk and not enough reward in that scenario. See the 24 now of Ott trying to work on Monaghan.
A little bit of right front damage to that number 05 Michael Monaghan, again involved in the collision there with Forrest Landy through the S's.
Ott. Again, this is one of those places where it's just so hard to make a pass work, because by the time you get to the next corner, and speaking of passing,
I was going to say,
Seal now on the inside, Alessandrini, they're going to swap positions.
Alessandrini had the lead for a moment down the straightaway, but a little bit of damage to the rear bumper of Hausil, so I think Alessandrini's been pushing the issue to the inside. Here comes the 191. Very aggressive, heading off into turn 3, trying to get tucked in behind, and Alessandrini wants this lead. There's no waiting around for him.
Yeah, definitely he is hungry, and he wants it now.
Yeah, these MX-5s just rotate so well through the tight and twisty sections, but looks like Hausil set that up better and got a good run through the beginning of the S's, but we'll work our way up and watch Alessandrini potentially close back in, heading to Oak Tree.
UWC is gaining a lot now as they head into the S's.
Can I ask Dominic, are you surprised at the level of aggression that we've seen here early in this race? I mean, I'm kind of taken aback a little bit by how much side-by-side action we've seen. especially through the S's portion.
Yeah, Kyle, I think that at this point, the cars are, in both the MX-5 and the Mustang categories, they're getting spread out. So I think once the car is able to catch up with the one in front of it, they have the challenge of, the temptation to sort of force the issue and try to make a move where I think at this point it would pay dividends to fall behind, let your car cool down a little bit, and then, of course, as we've been mentioning, have something left for the end.
And you see how Seal pushing the issue, trying to defend from Alessandrini, runs a little bit wide off an oak tree and will give up the lead to DJ Alessandrini. So while Dominic was giving us that information, Francois Brou off course as well. We'll go back and take a look at what happened to him.
I believe he was the driver that was working through all that traffic.
It's Ido Wexman as well that was doing that. But let's go back. This looks like a pretty hard collision. Here's the 69 car. We'll see what happens.
This is behind the battle we were watching between Seal and... Oh, that's, I think, a hardware failure.
Yeah, that was definitely a failure of some sort. Full throttle into the fence. Never a good thing to see. So Francois Brou out here early. Heading back up to the Mustang battle. We haven't checked on this in a couple minutes, but it's still vicious between Herbst and Pelota.
Yeah, notably, too, these guys are in a bigger group than the MX-5s, which is kind of the opposite of what we've seen usually.
Yeah, I'm really kind of surprised by that, especially with the slipstream advantage the MX-5s have in terms of how effective it is. Surprised the Mustangs are this close.
Yeah, Pelota's still trying to chase down Herbst, and I kind of wonder if he's kind of just settled in for the long run now, and especially he's probably got a smile on his face as his competition in the points, and our points leader, Forrest Landy, he's out of the race now, so...
A big hit in the points for that number 4 car.
Pelota can pretty much easily take away the points lead there.
Well, the top 4 in the Mustang category, you can throw a blanket over them now. 1.7 seconds between first and fourth. Pelota trying to chase down Herbst, and these two have been going at it here, Finian. And I guess Jeff Jacobs and Obadia are looking at it, licking their chops, hoping these guys get together.
I think that's probably what they're hoping on, too, because I think they, I don't think they might be as fast as the 89 or the 96. So they're just going to kind of wait for them, sit in their slipstream and just wait for them to make a mistake potentially and reap the rewards.
And both these leaders have made mistakes a couple times. You see Herbst almost dropping a wheel there, using every inch of racetrack, but Pelota closes in just a tad. I'll be right on the rear bumper of Herbst heading off into turn 1, looking for a pass on the inside. Mustangs might swap the lead again here down into turn 1.
Yeah, and this is, I think, the third time we've seen someone set up that pass here into turn 1. Very popular passing opportunity, and there you see Pelota take it with ease. Herbst doesn't even have a chance to retaliate. Not retaliate. Poor word choice there.
Yeah.
Counterattack, I guess, is a better phrasing for that. But yeah, Herbst is going to have to settle in back in second and potentially swapping again with Pelota.
So the Mustangs battling viciously for the top spot right now. The MX-5 pretty well spread out. Paul Darling has moved up into third over Chip Disharoon in the number 155 car. So move Darling up to the podium spot. Richard Spicer and Zach Rubin going at it back here for 5th in class in the MX-5 category, though. And this is getting to be a pretty aggressive fight. And right behind him is Elias Roman.
Yeah, some good runs from these guys. You've seen Spicer not have the best, so you see him run almost to the tire barrier there.
That was close.
Yeah.
But Rubin's gonna have a really good run here. Does he take it to the outside or does he sit on it? Looks like he'll sit. Yeah, on the opportunity.
It looks like he wanted the inside. That's why he backed off from the 56. Had a run, but he's gonna wait on it. There you see a Mustang behind them.
Don Manning, the number 92, watching this from behind.
And one of the worst things is the faster car seeing the slower cars having a fight. And especially on a tight track like this, it's very hard to pass. So he's going to have to wait about a half a lap before he can try to make a pass on these guys.
Yeah, Dominic, what's the etiquette in terms of if you're a Mustang that's been slower and you're kind of mixed in with the other class, is there an etiquette there, or is everyone just kind of treated as an equal out on track?
Well, Kyle, for the Mustangs coming through the MX-5 field, I think the better part of valor would be to let them have their race, not interfere with their battle, because as we can see on the screen, they're having a close proximity fight, and having a Mustang go in there and break that up wouldn't, would break up that fight and, wouldn't be fair to that battle. So I think for him, since he's not racing anybody and he's just turning laps at this point, would be to take his time, go to a place where it's safe to get around, and then wait till either the back straight or the front straight to get around, to avoid getting in the middle of that battle.
And battle indeed. Look at the Mustangs trading spots again. Kyle Herbst goes back to the lead. And man, Finian, these guys are just absolutely showing no signs of restraint here this early.
Yeah, they've just been trading blows back and forth all race long so far. And again, I think nearly every single pass has been heading into turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's one of the prime passing opportunities. See Jeff Jacobs now following Pelota and Herbston. Jacobs has been pretty quiet, and he sat on a pole, I believe, a couple weeks ago, and he's got a lot of pace, but just kind of taking it easy here, maybe just sizing up these guys, letting them fight it out, then might take them when they use up their stuff later. Riding on board now as we go through the S's and jumps the curb there. And the Mustangs, the suspension allows this.
And let's actually head back to the Mazda battle. Let's heat up. Hauseil's driven all the way back up to Alessandrini. He's going to look to the outside now, heading into turn 1.
Yeah, so that was actually... Alessandrini had a really slow lap last time through. It was about a second slower than Hauseil, and that was all it took. And Hauseil's going to go to the outside, driving off into turn 1. Will there be contact? No, they're going to run each other a little bit wide, though. Hauseil maybe the over-under in turn 2.
Looks like Alessandrini did a great job defending from that.
He kept the nose in, but couldn't quite keep it there.
Yeah, made his cards wide as possible, and he's going to keep Hauseil at bay. But an impressive job from Hauseil to get back up there. Kind of curious what happened to Alessandrini that last lap that made him lose so much time, but that's allowed Hauseil to get back up there, and these guys are going to go at it yet again.
This looks like so much fun. I haven't actually driven this MX-5 at VIR, and it looks awesome. I mean, it just looks like it handles very well. The Mustang does not, but up and over the curbs, look at, they're using every inch of racetrack there, and some.
Notably, a change also for third place. Paul Darling has gotten around Chip Disharoon, so those guys traded positions.
I believe we had one off course, and it was Brian Saab there, the number 21 car.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I remember him being up further up the order.
Yep, and lost it heading down. Oh, that was a almost contact. That was heading towards Oak Tree Corner, and just lost it on the grass. And there comes. There's that Waxman in the number 36, yep, around the outside. Damage on that 36 from contact with the Miatas on lap number 1. Battle for the lead again in the Mustang category up for the front. Herbst and Pelota. Pelota to the inside off into turn 1, and we've seen this story a couple times tonight.
Okay, here's a drinking game for people at home. Every time there's a pass in turn 1, take a shot.
They'll be drunk by lap 15. We're on lap 10 right now. Pelota takes the lead back away, so we have a high-intensity fight for the lead. Alessandrini and Hauseil separated by a second in the MX-5 category. Spicer and Rubin continue to battle here on the backstretch, and the 7 just kind of pushing the 56. Maybe a fuel-saving move, maybe just working together to try to catch the cars in front.
Potentially, well, it's very dangerous to do in the Mazdas here because the nose is curved. That's what I was trying to say. So you can one wrong hit, you could really send the car in front of you flying off the track. So interesting tactic there from the 7. Wonder if he's still going to try to pass that 56 to Spicer because he's gotten a run several times but hasn't been able to make the move.
Almost locked up and went wide there. That was a scary moment for the number 7 of Zach Rubin, but they continue to fight for 5th in class in the MX-5 category. We look back up to, how about 8th place? Dennis Barrett and Dave Fitzgerald. This has been a battle that's been raging since lap number 2. And Fitzgerald still in 9th. And about a half a second behind, trying to improve his position.
Yeah, a lot of the Mustang fields kind of found some buddies to stick around with, and they've just been going back and forth between each other. Not so much separation between, or I should say, people charging up through the field. Everyone's kind of put where they are. There you see that's Fitzgerald trying to make the pass. Thought about it into Oak Tree, but is going to have to sit in behind.
We're right on board the roll bar here with Dave Fitzgerald, and we'll watch the conclusion of this lap. Started 11th, up 2 spots for Fitzgerald. Again, shifting so important here. Very easy to miss. Even really 5th gear is a tricky gear to get into in the Mustang. Really all the way over there and up to the top right in the shifter. So Fitzgerald gets into it, onto the brakes, up and over the curbing, and closes in on Barrett in the braking zone.
Yeah, a lot there.
And look, we're back again, up for the lead in the Mustangs. Kyle Herbst back to the front, braking in deep into turn number 1, and he'll get around the number 96 of Pelota.
This is really every single time these guys are just trading back and forth. Every single time I think they come through there the last few laps.
Well, this is what I would have expected from the MX-5s, but it's the Mustangs today. Because the MX-5s, this is typical behavior by the MX-5 category, especially on larger tracks. But I wouldn't expect Mustangs to be doing this. This is intense up here for the lead.
Part of me's also been thinking that that Mustang that was charging up through, it was Waxman. When he was charging up through the Mazda field, I think that might have split them up early on. I think that's how Alessandrini and Hauseil was able to get away because the Mazda field has grouped back up again with each other, just at different points on the track.
These top 2 really using up their stuff though, Finian. Finian, do you think it's too early to be driving this hard?
Oh yeah, I definitely think it's too early because you can look on the clock. We still got a little under an hour left in this race. So yeah, I mean, I'm one of the more guys who is bigger picture and looks at the end goal. But there you see the brakes glowing on the 96 of Pelota. Much better line than Herbst through Oak Tree.
Yeah, Herbst was a little bit tight on corner exit. All right, Dominic, what about pit stops here? We have to make one stop. Would you prefer to make your stop later in the race and take less fuel, or are you kind of a guy that likes to do an undercut?
So Kyle, I think that taking a pit stop later in this race would be the thing to do. With these Mustangs up here battling so fiercely, I think that battling now would risk not having the full equipment at full health once you get to the end. So doing a later stop, I think, here would be the smarter thing to do.
And so we'll see which drivers follow Dominic's advice here, but up and over the curbs goes Kyle Herbst. Again, I wonder if we'll see a swap for position this time. I don't think Pelota's close enough. Oh, he got a pretty good run.
I was gonna say you might want to take that back.
We'll see. Here he comes. Back
to
the inside.
This might be a little bit of a stretch here. No, it looks like the 89 Herbst is giving him the line. I'm surprised he actually didn't go defensive there.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe going defensive this early is just as too overly aggressive as going for the pass this early. So Herbst and Pelota trade spots once again and put the 96 back to the top spot. Ido Waxman has retired the number 36. At the end of the day for Ido.
A lot of Mustangs falling off. That's the
Sebastian, Landy Forrest, Landy Seif, Salisbury, Travis Trussell. Trussell and Alan Olson in the number 63 Miata did not start the race. So that's why, well, we're looking at this, Finian. It's right on board with the number 96. What do you see up there, Finian?
I see a lot of MX-5s.
A lot of MX-5s indeed. That's the tail end of the MX-5 field.
And they're all, again, fighting for position here, and so are these guys. So this is going to be an interesting dynamic here to see two different classes of cars both fighting for their own positions.
And this is a pretty big group here. Robert Porter, Chris Hebert there, Patrick Alejandro, Sam Scott. And they're only a couple seconds up the road from the leading Mustangs. Look how quick they caught them.
Yeah, and even on the straightaway, too, I think they might catch some of these guys before they head into the heavy braking zone at the end of the straightaway.
Sam Scott in the 98 is going to be the first one to go a lap down here. That's not already a lap down. And here comes Pelota. Will he make a move to the inside or will he sit on it? Again, the Miatas are actually probably quicker through this next section. So I think Pelota actually backed off a little bit here. Yeah, the MX-5s are going to be a little bit faster through here.
Yeah, like a predator stalking their prey. You can see them. They're all catching up to the MX-5 field. And like you said earlier, quickly too. And they're going to actually have a lot of pace now as they head on to the front straightaway.
Oh, through the middle, three wide. Woo, all right, here comes, look at Kyle Herbst with a huge run, goes to the outside of Pelota, and the 89 looking to take the lead away a little bit more unconventional way this time, though.
I think he's going to wait on it. Yeah, you saw that they're catching that Mazda there.
And Greg Obadia and Jeff Jacobs closed in on Herbst and Pelota with all that traffic. A lot of chaos up front in the Mustang field right now. The way these guys have been driving, I don't really expect to see a ton of patience. Jacobs stuck behind Miata there. It's the number 136 car of Robert Porter, but Porter will jump on the binders and let the 38 by, as well as the 66 of Obadia.
That was a pretty clean exchange for position. That's allowed the 98 behind him of Sam Scott to try to fight. But still battle between the 96 and the 89 of Herbst.
MX-5 lead, pass for position, or at least it was an attempt at one. Hausil was side by side with Alessandrini, couldn't get it done. Paul Darling 10 seconds behind this battle, so these are the top two guys going for it here with no risk of being overtaken from behind.
This is really, these guys are the class of the field. It's been either one of these guys all for these first 2 weeks. Hausil actually lost quite a bit of points at Summit Point after running out of fuel, I believe it was, or something similar like that. And lost a lot of positions on the final lap, but he's here now trying to fight Alessandrini for his first win of the season.
And Hausil's been remarkably quick, but hasn't quite gotten there in time. And just behind them, on the back straightaway, Herbst.
Bump draft.
Yeah, bump drafting down the back straightaway. Interesting to see Herbst didn't take the inside there, really only making their passes on that front straight.
Yeah, and I think this is just because this is probably one of the trickiest places to make a pass here. It's a blind turn. And very tight section here as well, especially for the Mustang, so it's very difficult to make the pass and make it work.
It's very easy to, and the MX-5s are so tiny, it's easy to come up over a crest and pretty much jump on top of an MX-5 without seeing it first, so Herbst playing a little bit more precautious there. As we have 50 minutes left in this race, Pelota leads, but now Herbst's going to trade back to the outside, maybe go for a run for the lead on the outside here.
And he's got the momentum to work with here. Does he have enough to make the line work? Because he's on the least preferred line, although it looks like Pelota's going to back off and let Herbst have it.
All right, Dominic, if you're Jeff Jacobs, you're running third right now watching these front two battle. Is there a reason why you'd want to jump in there and try to steal away from both of them, or are you going to wait and hope they have a collision?
Well, Kyle, I think Jeff Jacobs is in a comfortable position right now, and one of the advantages he has right now is having run behind them these past few laps. He's studying what they're doing, studying where they're stronger, studying where they may be a little bit weaker. So towards the end of this race, when Jeff Jacobs decides he wants to make a move, he has those mental notes in his head, and he'll be ready to capitalize on the notes he's taken down to where they may not be as strong, and he'll try to make his move there if he's smart.
And it's not a bad bad idea. Greg Obadia also about 1.3 behind Jeff Jacobs, kind of pulling a similar strategy. Update on the MX-5 lead, Alessandrini, Hausil separated by 0.3 of a second. Right now we're looking at the closest battles on the racetrack. And we're going to take you to the MX-5 lead again on the front straightaway now.
You see Hausil trying to get the draft off of Alessandrini, trying to make the pass.
And I think Hausil really wants this back because he was in the lead when he made his mistake heading onto the back straightaway in Oak Tree Corner. And I think he's a little bit upset about that and wants that lead back. But he's got to get around Alessandrini first. And Don Manning coming into the pit lane here. I don't think this is a scheduled stop.
Yeah, I would think, this is a little bit early for that.
So Don Manning, obviously, not running a great race here tonight. Running 15th in class right now. Herbst and Pelota, 0.3 of a second separate them. And watching the brakes again on Pelota, glowing pretty severely here, especially at the end of the front straight, which we're going to take a look at here in just a moment. This first sector is really where the brakes can be working the hardest on the Mustang. They get a long opportunity to cool down on the back straight, but here goes Pelota back to the inside, passing for the lead again. Probably about the 10th time we've seen this. And jumping on the brakes, there's the brakes glowing.
Yeah, really hot. And
thank you for that note.
I was thinking about saying something else, but
really hot.
It didn't come to mind. But they see Herbst trying to again look, and again these guys are being really conservative now. They only make their passes in turns one, and I can only imagine that that's probably going to be amplified later on in the race when they're just trying to pass each other in every single corner.
Alessandrini and Hausil continue to run nose to tail, and they're doing a really good job working together and pulling away from third place Paul Darling, 11.2 seconds back. And I do have the right front camera set up here on the Miatas as well, and as long as they're not going to go for a pass for position here, which they might. Hausil looks to the outside. Doesn't quite do it. The brakes on these cars not working quite as hard as the Mustang. A lot lighter.
Yeah, definitely a lot lighter and a lot less work that they have to do because these cars are lighter, and you don't really need to use the brakes as much on these. So
lighter is an understatement. I mean, these things weigh about 2,100 pounds. The Mustang's about 3,500 if I remember correctly. So it's about another half a Miata makes the Mustang. Kyle Herbst has slipped. Well, it looked like he did for a second, but timing was off there, so he's pretty close. Still working through some traffic here, though, for the Mustang leaders.
Yeah, another group of monsters that they have to work through. They did a pretty good job the first time through. They should do better the second.
Chip Ruin got some left front damage on that number 75.
Yeah, and has dropped back a few places. He was behind Paul Darling.
Yeah, I actually do want to go back and see what happened to the 75.
Actually, if I remember correctly, he was around a Mustang or something, maybe.
I would like to go back and find out what happened to Chip, just because it did take him out of a pretty good running position, but we might have to go back a little ways. And if I can't find it immediately, I'm not going to sit here for too long.
He's had that for a long time.
Yeah, he's really had that damage for a while.
And part of me's actually, so if he had,
nope. Wow, this is quite a few laps ago.
Yeah, what it was
here we go. Okay.
Oh, that was it.
It was the what car is that?
Yeah.
And that's Don Manning, the number 92.
Yeah, so he was with a Mustang, and I think this was it.
Oh, just drove in there and. Yeah, I would probably put that on the 75. I mean,
yeah.
Just kind of drove up the racetrack.
I'm surprised how much damage that gave the car that was only on the side. A lot of damage.
Heading back live, and Michael Monaghan off course, and Or maybe is this just a pit stop?
I think this is probably a pit stop.
Yeah,
Yep, it is.
It is. 20-second pit stop. So Michael Monaghan, the number 05, will head back out on the racetrack. That's the first pit stop that we've seen out of the Mustang category that seemed scheduled. So Monaghan will jump back out 13th in category.
Yeah, a little bit on the early side of things, but we should start seeing some pit stops within a few minutes here.
And Dave Fitzgerald has won his battle with Dennis Barrett that was raging for most of the race and has now moved himself up into 7th in class. He'll be 8th once the pit cycle out. See Herbst really pushing at corner exit again. Dragging some dirt out onto the racetrack.
Yeah, that could really get worse later on if more and more is put there as these guys are trying to get the power down. But here we see a pass between Hausiel and Alessandrini. Alessandrini working the outside heading into turn 1.
And Hausiel's going to have the preferred line when we get down to turn 1. This might be an official change for position, and it will be. Hausiel takes the lead away. Can Alessandrini do the over-under? Here he comes back to the inside, but Hausiel's going to have that preferred line again as we head to turn 3.
I think Alessandrini's going to try to pinch him. I don't know how effective that's going to be, though. You see Hausiel is going to block him off and take the lead away.
So a change for position, and Kenneth Hausiel resumes the top spot after 16 laps. He lost it early in the going. All right, well, Dominic, we got the MX-5 leader is about 11 seconds up the road from the third place car. So does that change your strategy at all, knowing that you're only battling one guy versus 14 or 15?
So, Kyle, I think that for now he has a cushion that he can be comfortable with. But at the same time, I don't think he can get too comfortable knowing he has that 11-second lead, because if the car behind him starts to turn up the wick, he'll be right back in his mirrors before the car in front knows it. So he's going to have to be on the binders the whole time and, again, keep with that balancing act of trying to push the car and keeping the car underneath of him so he has something to attack with for the end of the race.
Absolutely, and you see Alessandrini make a little mistake there through the top of the S's and lost a little bit of ground to Hausiel, but these guys have been trading lap times back and forth for several laps now. Patrick Alejandro, the number 28 Miata, is on pit lane, receiving service. As is another Mustang, I believe that's David Alessi in the number 34 car. I haven't talked a lot about David today, but it's not been a super noteworthy race for that 34 car.
Yeah, been very quiet from him. And again, not entirely bad it being quiet, so I think he's going to get his pit stop done and continue out back on the track. But here we see the 96 of Pelota stuck behind lap traffic, and Herbst's going to potentially take advantage of this.
I believe that's a 13 of Cameron Bidwell, and indeed it is, but you saw Herbst really pushing it on corner exit again, maybe wearing out those rear tires a little bit prematurely, Finney. He's been really trying to slam that throttle down on corner exit, and these Mustangs have a tendency to go snap loose on you when you put the throttle down that quick. So if you're in Herbst's position, you're close enough to the leader. Would you just calm down the throttle response a little bit and maybe save those tires?
I mean, yeah, honestly I would, but I think he's probably trying to stick with Pelota when they get to pit stop, so just in case Pelota messes up, he can gain some. So I think that's kind of Herbst's game to play here.
Alan Claffey on pit road receiving service, the number 39 Mustang. So the rear of the field has come and made their stops, but the front, we have yet to see anybody come. .42 minutes left. And Herbst quick again, driving right up to the rear bumper. Pelota not close enough to make a pass this time through, but Cameron Bidwell running decent enough lap times that it's holding up the leaders here just a little bit and could make this lead battle exciting.
You know what I just realized probably was what Pelota and Herbst have been doing? They've been trading the lead, trying to save fuel.
I mean, that's, yeah. That's
so
probably, I would assume that that's probably something that they're trying, but, and we mentioned that the Mustangs are a lot tighter on fuel than the MX-5s are, as you see Pelota going to the inside of Bidwell now. Yeah, it's all in good fun for competition, so they're certainly swapping spots, and at some point they'll stop giving it to each other and start going for it. But Paul Gibson on pit lane now, the number 31, the farthest up running driver we've seen come to pit lane, 22.8 second stop for the 31. And Michael Monaghan was right on the rear bumper of Brian Saab that time through, and Saab has not come to pit lane yet, so Monaghan making up some pretty good time right now.
Monaghan trying to get around Saab, but he's got Gibson who just shot out of the pits, and those guys are going to be fighting for a position.
Monaghan was able to fix that right front damage he got after contact with Forrest Landy earlier in the race. And Monaghan will have a run to the inside, but won't take it. Paul Gibson. So this is a battle for position here, Finney. Gibson and Monaghan have both made pit stops. And I don't remember where they came in, but Gibson had a 22.8-second stop and Monaghan had a 20.2-second stop, so I'd imagine that Gibson was potentially in front of that 0.5 before.
Yeah, so now he's going to have to do some work to turn that around.
Darren Treacle on and off pit lane in the number 70. And MX-5s, again, turn 1, Hausiel holding off Alessandrini. Alessandrini puts the power down right to the rear bumper of Hausiel. Tries to cross him over, can't do it. We'll look to the outside, maybe cross him under again.
This is an interesting place to make the pass. You see Alessandrini trying to go into the dirt to make it.
He almost made a line for himself out there, paved a new runoff area.
You know, this is probably one of the most aggressive we've seen all race. Really trying to get that pass.
Richard Spicer on pit lane from 5th in the number 56 MX-5. The battle for the lead continues to rage. Alessandrini really not being patient to the inside. We're going to be side by side through the S's. We've seen this story before. Didn't work out last time.
Yeah, I think these guys should potentially be good if they give each other room.
So close. And they make it through there okay. There was a scary moment there for a second. And look, all the Mustang leaders on pit lane, Finian. Holy cow, the top 5.
You see Pelota go, and Herbst's still waiting. Oh, he's waiting a long time.
For Herbst. He's going to lose a couple spots there. So Dennis Barrett just gets by, has not come to pit lane yet. All the other Mustangs are on pit lane or have come to pit lane. Jeff Jacobs has leapfrogged Kyle Herbst. Herbst has to deal with an MX-5 car. That's the 56 of Spicer. So a big gap that Herbst has lost to...
Yeah, I'm kind of curious as to, it tells from the pit lane delta that Herbst was about 2 to 3, or actually 3 to 4 seconds slower than the leaders, the rest of the guys that came in, so kind of curious where he made that mistake. Maybe I'll probably overshot a pit stall, it could be it.
Yeah, could have probably done that. So Herbst obviously lost a little bit of ground, lost really over 4 seconds to Pelota, so he's got a lot of work to do. He's got the pace to do it, but he's got to get on the go pedal now.
Yeah, and we've seen him, he's got the pace, but the question is, does he have more pace than Pelota? Well, Pelota's got to actually work through some lap traffic here.
Well, as we watch them work through lap traffic, Dominic, if you're in Kyle Herbst's position, you've been right alongside Pelota for the entire race. A botched pit stop puts you out of the running. How do you get yourself back into this? What strategy changes can you make to get back up there?
So, Kyle, I think that after this pit stop, he's going to have some fresher equipment on him, so one of the things he can do is try to cook off some 5 laps and see sort of what the deficit is to his competitor. And then if he feels that he has the car underneath him that can challenge, he should push it. And then if he feels like he needs a little bit more time to get everything under him, take a few laps to be conservative and then go for it, because he's going to want to have the healthiest car he can to be able to get back up there and challenge for the win here.
Absolutely. We just saw Sam Scott get a punt from Richard Spicer off an Oak Tree corner. I don't think those guys will agree on that there, Finian.
No,
get one more look at it from Spicer's point of view. It's just a matter of 2 guys going for positions. This would have been for 6th in class. You see Spicer get in here and just gets in there a little too hot and just drives right into the back of Sam Scott.
Yeah, I think that Scott was trying to take a more conservative line through there while Spicer's trying to be more aggressive, and they ended up finding each other there. So unfortunate. Both had to make contact, but here we got Herbst making a pass, trying to make it on Jacobs. He goes to the inside, and it looks like Jacobs is going to let him have it.
Yep, and notably, they made up a bunch of ground on Andrew Pelota now. They're only 2.7 seconds back, so they made up about 1.5 seconds since they came out of the pits. Obviously, things are going well. Dennis Barrett now comes to pit lane for his pit stop now in the number 83 Mustang. MX-5s-wise, we have not seen as many pit stops. The leaders have not come just yet.
Yeah, the entire top 3 have yet to make their pit stop.
Ryan Saab on pit road in the number 21. He was the last Mustang to pit. And DJ Alessandrini right on the rear bumper of Hausiel once again. And I wonder how many times we've said these guys' names over the last 3 weeks. They've been, wow, look at the 23. Got airborne there for a second.
Yeah, like I said, there's a reason these guys are 1 and 2 in the standings, and that it's because these guys have been running like this ever since the green flag at the start of the season, and they're here yet again at VRR still fighting.
And we want to thank everybody watching live on SimTV as Alessandrini stays put for now. We've had viewers watch over 26 hours of content here since we started the stream about an hour ago. So that's pretty phenomenal. We've had capped at 35 live viewers. Again, almost a record here for SimTV, so excellent. And I want to thank everybody for watching as we watch a great battle in the MX-5 category lead. Herbst has slowed his progress on Pelota, 2.7 back still, but now they're 1 and 2 once again. Alessandrini and Hausil, these guys are the cream of the crop in terms of racing ability here, Finian.
Yeah, definitely so in this class. They're destroying everyone else. Paul Darling 12 seconds behind. So it's pretty much these two guys fighting for these top 2 positions. And Hausil really needs a win here. You see Alessandrini poke a nose.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a block there by the number 23. But it was probably a smart block to make, as that was preventing a pretty dangerous move there into the S's. So I'll give the 23 a pass on that. Into Oak Tree now.
And I really do wonder when these guys are going to come down, because I gotta imagine it has to be soon.
Again, these things kind of sip fuel. Alessandrini bounced. Oh, there was a Mustang. Darren Treacle off track behind him. Yeah, they sip fuel almost like Priuses, as I mentioned earlier. These things get pretty good MPG even when they're racing. These cars have such little engines. It's still could be a couple laps. Anyway, let's head back up to the Mustang lead, Finian. Interestingly, Herbst took about a second and a half out of that lead last time through.
Yeah, Pelota definitely made some sort of error there. He lost a lot of time. He's lost a second and a half last time through. So
let's go find out.
He's really losing a lot of time here, and I think it might have been. Yep.
Some traffic here. Let's take a look at it. And the 75 Chip Dish Rune, which is the 4th place MX-5, and that's the 92 of Don Manning. Manning got wide off the course and forced Pelota off track as well, and might have gotten a slowdown there potentially.
I don't know.
That certainly didn't help his case.
Might have been a little bit early in the lap as well, but yeah. Pelota just not finding good luck in traffic here, and this is allowed Herbst to catch back up. Here we got a battle still between Hausil and Alessandrini. See Hausil trying to push him off the track almost.
Wow, Alessandrini outbraked him, but couldn't quite complete the pass as they'll have to tuck back in behind, but still has a nose in as they head down to the next corner. Finian Alessandrini's got the next 2 corners are left-handers and might be able to wrestle the spot away. It looks like the 23 will give it to him.
And you see Hausil trying to take a better turn. He's going to do the over-under, and now Hausil's got the better line.
Side by side now, we're going to work our way to the S. It's a very fast section. Alessandrini back to the lead. Hausil hanging on, but we'll have to give it up. Maybe we'll see Hausil try to take it back through the twisty bits.
Lost a little bit of momentum there on exit. I don't think he might actually not.
He'll have a run.
Yeah, he'll definitely have a run here. Will he do anything with it, though? That's the question.
Here he goes to the inside.
He's going to look.
Oh, man.
And he is there side by side through the S's yet again.
Oh, contact between them and a little bit of a scrape there, but they'll keep it on course. Alessandrini bounces over the curb. Hausil around the outside. An incredible pass by Kenneth Hausil. What a great move that was.
That was top, honestly. That was a fantastic job by that 23 car. Now Alessandrini looks like he's going to surrender that. For now, at least.
Wow, that was a gutsy move, but Hausil back to the lead now, lap number 22. 32 minutes left in this race. Back up in front with the Mustangs. Herbst now only 0.7 of a second behind Pelota, consistently running quicker. I think that 89's the car to beat here today, Finian.
Yeah, I think this is definitely, that alone has just shown that the 89 of Herbst has got the faster car. You see, Hausil's slow.
Nope, yeah. That was a bad run for the 23 out of Oak Tree Corner, down at the end of the straightaway. Hausil on the outside, door to door.
Tough place to make the pass.
Oh, Alessandrini keeps the nose in. We'll have the preferred line. Phenomenal racing for the lead here in the MX-5s.
Again, this is all in the same lap, too. These guys have been side by side through several corners. Looks like it's 1 to go.
Oh, my goodness.
Still got half an hour left in this race.
The pit stop is going to be vital here, Finney. These guys have been nose to tail the whole time, and I'm not sure what pace they'll have for each other once they get separated, but certainly with the draft helping them, they are staying nose to tail for the entirety of this event. 32 minutes left. And Hausil goes to the outside. Maybe we'll try to do what Alessandrini did last time through.
I don't think he's got enough car there.
Oh, well, he drove in pretty deep.
Nope. No bite. So he's going to have to settle in behind Alessandrini for a little bit. But here we got the 89 of Herbst caught all the way up to Pelota on his back bumper. He's going to back off heading to this section.
The lead battles in both classes today have been absolutely off-the-wall phenomenal. Pelota, Herbst running first and second by 1/10 of a second. Alessandrini and Hausil. Hausil back to the lead over Alessandrini.
Wow, looked away for literally 15 seconds.
Not even 15 seconds.
And these guys already changed the lead again.
All right, well, let's see how we do go through the S's again.
I think Alessandrini knows the drill at this point. He's a little bit far behind.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think he's gonna try to make a move this time.
Well, let's head back up here because Kyle Herbst just took the lead away from Andrew Pelota. We'll go back and take a look at the replay.
Yeah, we've missed 2 passes. Holy,
well, it's hard.
these guys need to stop passing.
They're doing good at this, Finian. And
Nice.
Pelota actually just let him
Wow.
by. It looks like. I think that was the move there.
Interesting tactic there.
All right, so looks like our battles have settled out for the time being. Well, I was going to say that, and then Hausiel jumped about 4 feet in the air after hitting the curb heading towards Oak Tree. Okay, Dominic, we got 30 minutes left. The MX-5s have not pitted. If you're Kenneth Hausiel or you're DJ Alessandrini, are you just going to pit with them, or are you going to try to fake him out and go a lap sooner?
I think the smart thing at this point would be to pit in the same lap. I think that both of them have run their race and are about the same level in terms of how their car's performing. So I think the best thing to do would be to go basically pit at the same time and then have an all-out sprint until the last lap with what should be pretty equal cars after they get maintenance done.
All right, so we have now 30 minutes left in this race, so we're getting down to it here. Paul Darling in the number 155 car is a significant way back from the lead MX-5 group, so Paul's just kind of running his own race right now.
Yeah, he's kind of stuck in no man's land. He's got almost no one around him. In class, I should say.
And Alessandrini and Hausiel continue to battle off into turn 1 again. Alessandrini to the outside, maybe do the over-under here again. That looks like what he's going to try to do. Here he comes to the inside. Side by side for the lead again, and will complete that pass if he can just get that rear bumper clear.
No, Hausiel's got a run here on the inside. He's got the next 2 corners as well.
Alessandrini is going to have the right-hander here in just a second. Well, after the left-hander. And now we'll have the right-hander.
But Hausiel's still going to work the corner.
Oh my goodness, this makes me so nervous every time we go through these S's side by side. Hausiel off track in the dirt.
Ooh.
Slides up.
Wow, that's not a slowdown. I'm impressed.
No, it's not. And they're going to continue to race side by side. Not clear just yet, guys.
Yeah, and you see Hausiel trying to dissuade Alessandrini from going side by side, but he's going to stick on it.
Yeah, they're going to do it. Oh man, this makes me so nervous. Oh.
And Alessandrini looks like he's going to back off, and Hausiel's got the position. Great driving from these 2 guys.
I can't believe that they've done that. And we got to swap for position. The Mustangs once again. Herbst gave the position to Pelota again. So
yeah, it seems like these guys are up to their old tactics here, swapping in turn 1.
But these guys I can tell these guys are racing for real up here.
Oh yeah, these guys have been passing in almost every single corner on the track.
That would be Hausiel and Alessandrini again. These guys from the drop of the green flag have been very aggressive. Hausiel made a mistake, spent about 15 laps chasing Alessandrini back down, and since then, it's been an all-out grueling battle. Alessandrini to the inside on the back straightaway will take the lead away again if Hausiel will give it to him, and he will. I don't think he'll give it to him for too long, though.
No, I think he's going to try. He's already going to start setting up a run for the front straightaway.
Hausiel taking a massive chunk of curb again. He's been really, really using that suspension here today, Finian, and thankfully the suspension failure is not quite a thing just yet. Otherwise, he might have had to make a couple trips to the pits.
Oh, definitely so. He would have to replace a lot of springs. But Hausiel now looking to the inside, and Alessandrini going to let him.
Won't block that pass. I think Alessandrini also might think that outside is actually a pretty good line, but we'll give it away and do the over-under back on Hausiel again.
Yeah, that's probably what he's trying to set up, and I think he might actually have it here. And yes, he does.
Not so fast.
Hard to tell from the distance. Now he does.
Hausiel got a really good run through the next corner, though. We're right on board with him here through the next couple corners. And through the S's now, again, taking pretty massive chunks of curb as we head our way up over 100 miles an hour through the S's under the bridge. There's a lap car just ahead of them that they'll have to deal with here in a moment. Kyle Herbst and Pelota have traded the lead again on the front straightaway.
Into the S, they see Hausiel stalking Alessandrini through there, just waiting for a mistake where he can pounce. I wonder if he'll potentially make it on this back straightaway that they're approaching after Oak Tree. They got a lap car ahead.
Yeah, this lap car, he might try to use him as a pick here. Oh, he's going to brake early, slows Alessandrini down. Hausiel comes in, almost makes contact with the rear bumper of the 191, but he'll stay off of him, and as they head through Oak Tree, going to be a really good run for the number 23 onto the back straight.
That's the 617, so that's a
Chris Hebert there, the number 617. A little bit of a dramatic moment there into Oak Tree.
They're a lot more dramatic than Alessandrini would have liked, and I was going to wonder if Jose would have made it more dramatic heading here, and...
No, he'll sit on it here. Again, drivers have been avoiding this as a passing zone. It looks like he's going to go for a dive. Drivers have been avoiding this as a passing zone. It's just too blind to really make a safe move here.
Yeah, I was just going to say, more so in the Mustang, definitely in the Miatas, it's a lot more viable, but again, it's probably not the best option. But I mean, these guys really don't care at this point, it seems.
Yeah, Sam Scott on pit road in the number 98 MX-5 from 7th in class. He's back out right now. So, and here they come. MX-5 leaders into pit lane. Nose to tail, Alessandrini beats Hausiel in, but they're right next to each other. We're going to stay with these guys and watch them as they pit.
Again, you could really lose a lot here if you mess up your pit stop, but none of them did. So now up to the pit crews. Silently repairing and fueling the car.
Alessandrini came in ahead of Hausiel, so we'll see if that is going to be the case when they leave. Again, long pit stops here for the MX-5. And Alessandrini's released first. How much farther behind is Hausiel? That's pretty much what they came in. Maybe a little bit of an advantage to the 191.
Yeah, Hausiel's stop about 8/10 slower, so that's where he lost time.
Well, and with that, they just went a lap down to Mustang leaders Herbst and Pelota. Herbst now leading by 0.6 of a second with 24.5 minutes left. Chris Hebert in the number 617 was showing negative miles an hour a second ago, and that's not the direction they're supposed to be going. So let's go back, try to find out what happened to him.
But part of me also wonders if it's the ticker screwing up again.
It could have been, but looked like he just...
Yeah, because he came in on their pit stop. I think he might have just retired.
He just retired, looks like. Well, that's not as exciting as I was hoping it would be. All right, let's go find some more battles. David and Louis Alessi nose to tail, 34 in the 43, 10th and 11th in the Mustang category.
Oh, Alessi going off the track there.
Which one?
That's allowed.
David.
I completely didn't realize that. Yeah. So that was David that went off the track, and Louis Alessi is going to come on the inside and try to make the pass to turn one. He's going to have a clear shot by a while.
Are they not related?
If they're not, that's a very big
coincidence.
Because
I don't know if this is hometown or current residence, but David is shown as Palmyra.
And one of them went off the track. Louis Alessi, he went off.
Yeah, David's showing as Palmyra, Virginia, and Louis showing as Stafford, Virginia. I mean, Dominic, do you know? There's got to be a relation there. Am I right?
Okay, I would think there's a relation. And one of the things I want to mention real quick before we reach the conclusion of this race is that VIR is going to be hosting the 2019 SCCA National Championship runoff. So it's going to be one of the first times in the 55, soon to be 56-year history of the runoffs that will be heading to VIR. And it'll be actually the 10th different venue to host the event, which will definitely play a big part for a lot of these SCCA road racers in the DC region. Finally having the national championship coming to their neck of the woods, and having a track that they've done a lot of laps on will definitely pay dividends come October next year, and having a smaller travel bill doesn't hurt either.
Yeah, actually, I was good. It's funny that you mentioned that because I read about that a little while ago that VIR was holding the runoffs, and again, that's a very popular SCCA event. You see, what's that, Brian Saab there, number 21, getting loose. Yeah, the runoffs are a great event, and as Dominic mentioned, it'll be the first time it's been hosted at VIR. And I believe it was hosted at Watkins Glen a few years ago.
Of course, you know that fact.
I know that because there's a guy on YouTube that I watched that drives an MX-5 that was at Watkins Glen. I could be corrected if I'm wrong there, but Virginia International Raceway, a great place to host it. Obviously, travel bill a lot less for these DC region guys. But that's a great tidbit of information there, Dominic. Thank you for adding that. And yeah, this is a great place to practice too. VIR is actually one of the few tracks within iRacing that hasn't really changed a whole lot. It's one of the oldest in iRacing, but also one of the least updated in the real world. So you can still learn a lot from this version, even though the real one's been repaved, I believe, and had some new curbing added.
And rip the oak tree.
Oh, yeah, and the oak tree. That's the most important thing. They should have just left the freaking tree, man. That's the best part of the whole place.
Didn't they also reprofile that turn?
They might have, but it's pretty dang close to this version in terms of the runoff available and everything. So a lot of things you can learn here tonight, especially for the guys driving MX-5s. Ooh, take a breath here for a second. And Alessandrini and Hausiel now, pretty big difference, finishing in 1.8 seconds. And remember we talked about keeping close together. Hausiel has not been able to do that, and Alessandrini Last time through was actually 0.8 of a second slower. But, yeah, it seems like this lead has not come down as much as Halcyon would have liked.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of hurting him, especially being out of that draft a little. He did make a good indent last time through. He got off about 0.8, so he is closing in. Probably would hope to be faster, though. He's got a decent amount of time to work. He's got about 11 or 10 laps to go in this race.
Yeah, just about 11 to go when we get back around to the start-finish line, as the leaders now are working their way down towards turn 1, and we'll get the 11 to go, roughly, and that's a guesstimate here, based on 20 minutes remaining left in this race. Pelota closing on Herbst, and Dominic, we're now 20 minutes remaining in this race. When do you stop trading positions, and when do you start going for the win?
Well, Kyle, I would say now is where you really stop conserving and start planning, making moves, because within 20 minutes to go, everyone, the cars are well up to temperature. Everyone has felt each other out. Everyone has an idea of what the other car is going to be doing based on their line and how they're approaching these corners. So at this point, it's really time to take the gloves off and let these guys have at it, and hopefully they'll do so cleanly and give each other plenty of racing room when they're making those moves.
And we're talking about it's go time, Finian. What about Jeff Jacobs sitting here just lurking in the background of this battle for the Mustang lead?
Yeah, he's actually faster than the two leaders last time through, so he's also relatively close to them. So if these guys make a mistake or make some contact of some sort, he's ready to pounce and take an opportunity at that.
And he might not even wait that long. He's making up a ton of time, and that was very smooth. It was full throttle through the S's. It was an exceptional run through there that time now, up to the oak tree, and we'll have to get this car rotated down to the apex, and back on throttle, made up another big chunk of time on them as they head onto the back straight.
So Jacobs is also going to be in there, so it's going to be these two guys in the Mustang category fighting for the win here. Not so much for the Mazdas. It's really been the story of two guys, the DJ Alessandrini and the 191 and the 23 Kenneth Halcyon.
And Halcyon's got to be a little bit frustrated right now, Finian. That pit stop wasn't great for him. He lost a bunch of time to Alessandrini. Now he's almost 2 seconds back, and this has been the story of the season so far for the 23 team. Just has not been able to finish out these races, even though he's had a ton of pace.
Yeah, and I think he's definitely still not out of this, still trying to make some inroads in, as he had to get passed by some lap traffic, so lost a little bit of time there. Going to try to make up that time to Alessandrini. He's been slowly gaining, lost a little bit of time last time through, but this lap should be a little bit faster.
Well, and there's also the threat for the Mustangs of the whole fuel situation, Finian. We've seen Don Manning, Darren Treacle, and Cameron Bidwell come in for a second stop. So that's got to be lurking in the back of their minds. We don't have fuel data on hand live right now to see who's been saving how much, but Herbst and Pelota have been pushing pretty hard, and Jeff Jacobs is now coming up into the picture, 1 second behind Pelota, and might want to put some pressure on him.
Yeah, those guys, though, did come in pretty early into the run. They still had some time to go, so I'd say these guys, it's still definitely within the realm of possibility for these guys to make it on one more stop still. So, again, it's just a question of, is it one lap difference or is it several?
Yeah, there's no one close to the leaders that has any more fuel than them, really. So it's going to be, if one guy pits, they're all going to pit, as Herbst and Pelota now run nose to tail up through the S's. See, there's a lapper coming up. I believe that is the number 98, a Sam Scott, that is just up the road. Scott is 7th in class right now in the MX-5 category. Harris on the side of that car. Local company to me, back home in Rochester, New York.
Scott trying to recover a little bit after getting a little bit of a punt from Richard Spicer. He got knocked out a few positions. And just in front of our leaders here, you can see Herbst and Pelota fighting behind them.
And we got a nice little tidbit of information from the chat that I actually didn't know. I thought that they just took the tree down. It was actually struck by lightning and came down on its own. I thought they took it out because
I thought they took it out too. Huh?
Well, they did, but they didn't tear it out on purpose. Is what I thought they did. So I'm
should have got another one.
There's lots of
Pelota off the track.
Pelota crashing through the center of the track and almost takes out Kyle Herbst with them. But that's going to be a big slowdown for the number 96 car. Holy cow! He scared me, Finian.
Yeah, I'm sure he almost scared Herbst. He almost came in front of him.
Well, what happened here to the number 96? Did he get in the grass in the brakings?
I think he was trying to figure out a way around the 98.
He at the last second had to change direction and slid through the grass. And great job to stop and not hit the leader of Herbst. But we'll ride on board here and watch it from his perspective. Obviously, the speed difference there was pretty massive. I don't think he expected Sam to slow down as much as he did.
So we're talking about the class difference.
Oh man,
Whoa.
that was a very scary moment.
Almost destroyed him. That was an insanely fast closing rate.
If he wins this race, you have to go back and look at that moment as what did it, because that was pretty much a crash if anybody else is in that car.
Yeah, well, he's got a little bit of work to do here to catch up to Herbst again. As long as he can catch the draft, he should be good. But that's a bigger question.
Ooh, Alessandrini slid into turn 1 there just a little bit, but has not given up any ground to Hausiel, so...
Yeah, they ran almost identical times last time through. They're only separated by...
5 thousandths of a second. 6 thousandths of a second. Very close. Alright, well now we gotta watch this lead. I think Herbst has really been the quicker of the two cars in raw pace. The best lap time that Herbst has run is actually significantly faster, 0.8 of a second quicker than Pelota, so... I think that 89 is going to be a hard car to catch, but Pelota's actually eating into it just a little bit already.
Kind of curious. I just took a glance up the track. I was wondering if there was any lap traffic, but these guys got completely clear track for a while. So, see, not a single car in sight. So, it's going to be pretty much between these guys on their own for the win here.
Darren Treacle back to pit lane again. Oh, this is only his second stop. He's had that damage for a while, I think.
I think he's going to retire, and yes, he is.
Actually, let me just double check. You never know. Oh, yeah, he didn't have that damage. We just found where it came from, and let's take a look. There's the 83 car of Dennis Barrett up in front of him. Oh, got contact. The 75 Chip Disharu just... Both those cars just came together, and no braking ability in the grass, and the 70 just pounds the Armco. What was the 75 doing?
Yeah, kind of curious to that as well. It's right on board with the 70.
Yeah, let's go here first. That's not going to be a terrible angle. The 75 just comes across the... Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'd like to get another aerial view here if we can, just to...
Try the blimps?
I gotta try Chopper first. They both kind of went free.
Yeah, they both kind of merged at the middle of the track, so...
Let's get one more look at this. It almost looked like the 70 did more turning, but they both didn't leave each other enough room.
Yeah, it was just kind of weird scenario because the 75 was pretty close to the right side, then came over, I guess, setting up for the corner.
Oh, what was going on there?
I think he expected the 70 to be further to the left, and the 70 expected him to be further to the right.
That 75 has picked up quite a bit of damage today, contact with the Mustangs, and they'll continue in fourth. But that was a really weird wreck.
Oh, while we were watching that, Hausiel lost a lot of time to Alessandrini, now 9 seconds back, so let's see if we can try to catch what happened to him.
Constantly trying to keep up with the action here.
Couldn't have been too long ago.
I think we might have found it. No. Oh, this is... It might not even be visible.
Up there.
Here it is. Okay.
Yep.
So here is the 23 Kenneth Hausiel, the second place MX-5 driver. And... Did he get helper? Oh, just hit the grass on corner entry, Finian. So easy to do that.
Yeah, that's gonna be pretty much nailing the coffin there for the 23 of Hausiel.
Yeah, and Dominic, one of the things that that drivers have to use around here is the curbing. And if you're a race car driver, do you like having curbing on the entrance of corners? I know it's not very common to have curbing on turn in, but that would prevent those kind of incidents. Are you in support of adding curbing to the outside of corner entrances to prevent that?
I think curbing can be a definite advantage on corner entry, but at the same time, it can also be a disadvantage because hopping over those curbs can upset the car, and unfortunately, as we've just seen here, take somebody out of contention. So it's something that can be helpful for a lot of cars, but for others, it can really be a hindrance. And you know, we see the results sometimes of getting too much curbing in a corner, what it can do to the car.
Yeah, and actually the other thing you have to be reminded of is when you add curbing, especially if it's flat curbing, they're going to use every inch of it anyway, and they'll just make the track 2 feet wider, and they'll take the other 2 feet and drop the wheel off regardless. So Hausiel now 9.5 seconds back, and I think that race is pretty much over there as long as Alessandrini keeps it on course.
Pretty much so. So I'm moving back to the top of the field here for the overall battle between Herbst, Pelota, and Jacobs. Pelota not making a lot of inroads on Herbst, and it looks like that 89 is keeping him at bay. Yeah,
and actually Jeff Jacobs is beginning to reel in Pelota now, and Jacobs, we've seen him have pace, especially in qualifying lately. Started third, running third, so he's where he thinks he should be. But I think he wants to get a couple more spots now. 11.5 minutes left.
Now, honestly, I feel like he should have a little bit more. He's against the fastest of these 3 last time by, so... I feel like he probably has a good shot of being up there with him, but he's starting to run out of time.
And still pretty close battle. Less than 2 seconds between the top 3 here in the Mustang category.
Actually, Pelota made up a lot of time last time through. Now down to half a second, the closest it's been in a while.
Yeah, not a good first couple sectors for Herbst that time through.
Yeah, I think that might have allowed Herbst to catch up a lot into the draft potentially. So this might help Pelota out.
The draft in the Mustang not quite as effective as it is in the MX-5s, but certainly not a hindrance. Although Pelota actually lost some ground there. Does he have some damage to that car? No, it looks fine to me. I don't know what's he was pretty slow down the straightaway.
The only way I could see him having damage was when he went off the track and when it violently jumped back on.
He could have gotten some oil pan damage, Finney, and be fighting overheating issues, but I mean, he did hit the ground pretty hard over there. But
yeah, because he did look noticeably slower down the straightaway. Let's actually right on board with him. Just to see if he got, just to see if he either braked or something, or what's going on with him.
I missed a little bit of a shift there, but let's stay on board. Oh, short shifting. Fuel, Finian. That might be the case for Pelota. Oh, really short shifting. And you can see on the fuel on the dashboard there, Finian, red. The red light is on. With 10 minutes to go, that number 96 knows the fuel situation is close. That adds another wrinkle into the mix here.
Yeah, that explains a lot too. These guys are a decent amount slower
and
off the pace. So
they've slowed down about 1.5 seconds. You see the fuel light on Herbst's car also red. Oh. Alright then. It's going to be a fuel run to the end here. And we asked Dominic earlier about the how else you save fuel other than drafting, and one thing he mentioned was short shifting. That's what Pelota was doing. Now working their way through the S's. So Pelota's in this situation. Michael Monaghan and Dave Fitzgerald have just traded spots. If you're in Pelota's situation, and you have someone pressuring you from behind, do you let him go if you need to, or are you focused on keeping your spot and moving yourself forward again?
I think the best thing that Herbst can do is try to back off and save as much as he can with Pelota behind him still. So it's kind of a cat and mouse game in reverse almost.
Now let's watch the revs here on the dashboard. And revving up pretty high this time through, and it looks like that's at the proper shift point. So maybe he was saving for a couple laps to get himself into a window. Oh, in 6th gear, though. That's something you almost never see in the Mustangs. So still making some fuel-saving measures here. David Alessi back on pit road, Finian from 12th. So we're starting to see a couple more stops.
Yeah, this is a lot. Yeah, and this is still some of the guys who pitted in earlier. So the leaders really will be the last of the drivers who will make the trip down pit road, as they were the last to pit on the first time around.
And you see Alessi coming off the pit lane now in a big cloud of smoke he left behind, but he'll go a lap down here in just a moment as Kyle Herbst drives by. But again, Andrew Pelota really giving up a lot of time, a 2:07.0 last time through, and the best lap time he run today, a 2:04.6. So a significant speed drop off here, trying to save some fuel.
Oh, Herbst was actually considerably slower as well.
Yeah, 2:06.5 for him as well. So that's almost 3 seconds off of his best time. I just gotta wonder how close is it. Are they gonna make it? Well, we have a situation like we had at Sebring. Dave Fitzgerald at Sebring ran out of fuel twice in the last final laps, and right now he is sitting in 7th in class. So if he doesn't repeat that mistake and everyone else in front of him does, you look at that number 91 car as your victory lane.
Yeah, I would hope he probably learned from running out of fuel twice to recheck again the numbers.
Well, Dominic, this place can't possibly be easy to save fuel here. It's a very high-speed road course. Where's the best place to save your fuel?
I think the best places to save your fuel would be on the 2 long straights, the back straight and the front straight. And the flow of this track is unique in that it's a lot of transitions. So in the corners, I think you just have to do the best you can. But definitely on the straightaways, you want to, as we mentioned, short shift and fall behind in order to have the last drop of go juice for the end to be able to make it.
Go juice indeed. They're going to need every little bit they can get. And Pelota jumps right back up to the rear bumper of Kyle Herbst now. And I'm not sure how much he's saved or if he's got enough, but he's certainly putting the pressure on Herbst now.
Notably there, he just visually blacked off from Herbst.
Yep.
So I think he still is saving, although he definitely kicked it into gear.
Well, I think the other thing is getting closer to Herbst, he can save more fuel that way. The draft becomes increasingly effective as you get closer. So Pelota really pulling all those stops here. Now, does Herbst have to worry about this? They both pitted the same lap, so
yeah.
Herbst is not doing as much as Pelota is.
Yeah, it's a curious situation here. Because, yeah, Pelota was saving, but we also don't know if Herbst is also saving the same amount. Again, it's really hard to tell without any data.
What about Jeff Jacobs? He's been pushing a lot less than either of the two leaders here.
I would say, honestly, probably between them. And there you see Herbst definitely taking the blinders off. He's going to go to the inside of Herbst.
Yep.
And he's going to take the lead.
And I think that's got to be Kyle Herbst looking down at fuel gauge going, uh-oh. You know, he was off the throttle about 3/4 of the way down the straightaway, giving up that spot. Paul Gibson back on pit road, the number 31 from 4th. So we're starting to get down. I believe he was one of the guys that pitted about a lap before these leaders. So I don't know. I don't even know if they can make it, but they're certainly going to try. Yeah, Greg Obadia also down there. Or Obadia, excuse me.
Yeah. I was going to say not that many have come, but now they're all starting to come down in, so it's going to be very tight. These guys have 5 minutes left to go in this race.
Meanwhile, in the MX-5 category, we haven't talked about these guys in a little bit of time, but Kenneth Hauseil's got to be kicking himself a little bit because he's brought about 2 seconds of time back on Alessandrini, but Alessandrini is 7.5 seconds up the road. He's going to need that 191 to make a big, big mistake.
Yeah, and again, at least on the bright side for Hauseil, he's well ahead of 3rd place, so he'll definitely have 2nd place down pat. Doesn't have to worry about it, but definitely wondering what could have been.
Dave Fitzgerald up to P6 in the Mustang class. Michael Monaghan, Greg Obadia now. Whoa, we see Fitzgerald off track there just a little bit.
Yeah, Monaghan has come in for a pit stop. Fitzgerald has not.
For a second stop.
Yeah, for a second stop, yes.
Yep. But Fitzgerald, let's see what their situation is here. Fitzgerald, yeah, he's going to need to come for sure. I don't know, but if he needs to come, so do the leaders. Kyle Herbst back up to the front. I think the fuel-saving games are back on here, Finney. In about 4 minutes left. Going to have 3 to go when we get to the line.
Yeah, I think these guys are going to start playing chicken with each other here of who's going to be saving and who's going to be gunning it. And again, I still think Jeff Jacobs has got the most fuel out of these 3. Question is it enough?
Again, Jacobs, yeah, came in on the same lap. There's, again, the first guy that is really in winning position would probably be Paul Gibson in the 31. He's 33 seconds back, and a stop on pit lane takes about 40 seconds. So if these guys were to come into pit road, Paul Gibson would be the eventual race winner. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on the 31. Battle for second on now. Jeff Jacobs has caught Pelota. Will he push or will he stay behind?
I think these guys are going to probably try to save as much fuel as possible and then try to make the pass on the last lap.
What it's coming down to here at the very end. Interesting note here, Finian.
Yes.
Alessandrini and Hauseil separated by only 4 seconds now.
Whoa, yes.
So Alessandrini made a mistake that has brought Hauseil in close, but it's still a pretty big chunk of time he's got to make up.
And again, I think Hauseil kicking himself even more, seeing that gap drop down so close.
Here come the Mustang leaders through the S's. Herbst leads, Pelota second, Jeff Jacobs third.
Again, the question is now, who are going to start seeing drop like flies? These guys they're going to come around next time by for 2 laps to go.
Alan Claffey on pit lane again for the second time here tonight in the number 39 car.
Actually, I think slight correction. I think they actually might have only 1 to go. Kind of close on the times.
It's going to be real close on the... yeah, no, they're going to only have 1 more lap, I think, Finian. But we'll wait for the official announcement here by the race control. We got 2 minutes and 25 seconds left. We're on the back straightaway, and if they can complete this lap in under 20 seconds, they'll have 2 to go, but if not, it'll be the white flag.
And I'm sure they definitely don't want one more lap to go with the fuel light blinking on them.
Look who turned up the heat, Jeff Jacobs. Whoa! Oh, Herbst messes up. He's wide, Finian. Jeff Jacobs takes the lead away. Here comes Andrew Pelota for second. Herbst made 1 little mistake, and it's going to cost him big time here.
And we got a race on our hands, and they are coming to the white flag here. It's definitely going to be white flag this time by as the clock ticks under 2 minutes.
Oh, man. Kyle Herbst is really, really upset about that. He got right back on the gas pedal, trying to defend second from Andrew Pelota. White flag gonna fly here. Oh my goodness, Finian. 3-way battle for the lead. 1 lap to go.
Yeah, and you can definitely see the aggression stepping up there, and I think all fuel-saving measures are off now. You either have enough or you don't, and you see Herbst trying to work on the outside of Pelota. Pelota's not going to have any of it. And he's going to maintain second, but now the question is, does Jeff Jacobs have enough, the underdog in all of this, ahead of the 2 guys who've been dominating the race?
Can Jeff Jacobs hang on? Will Andrew Pelota steal a win, or will Kyle Herbst rebound from third? One more lap to go. We got 20 corners to get around. We're done with 4 of them. We're going to head our way towards the S's now. Look at Pelota looking to the inside, shoves the nose in, side-by-side contact between the leaders. Kyle Herbst in third behind, looking aggressive. Sideways goes Pelota, but to the lead he goes.
Wow, and he seems still loose heading through these S's now towards the bridge. And you see Pelota giving it his all. Herbst trying to get around Jacobs.
Andrew Pelota now leads by a car length and a half over Jeff Jacobs. Kyle Herbst right on the rear bumper of Jacobs. Now up through the fast, high-paced S's. Got to watch those curbs on the right and left. Bouncing over goes Jeff Jacobs. Kyle Herbst behind. Car length separating the 2 leaders in the Mustang category.
Now, question is, do we see anyone start dropping like flies on this back straightaway? Fuel situation still pretty close.
Into Oak Tree for the final time. Jeff Jacobs close. He's 4/10 behind. Does he turn in better than Pelota? A great run off the corner exit for Pelota. He'll drive away now. 4/10 of a second onto the back straight. I think it's pretty much game over here if Jacobs doesn't get creative.
Yeah, I think he's going to try to get up as much of a run as he can, but again, it's really hard to build up a run with that deficit there, so I don't know, I think Pelota might have this.
Jeff Jacobs now has to defend from third place Kyle Herbst as they come up to the top of the hill to the braking zone. No defensive driving by Jacobs. There he goes. Now he goes to defend. Kyle Herbst gets into him. Jeff Jacobs gets a punt. Deep on the brakes. Almost gets into the rear bumper of Pelota. Side by side for second. Behind him, Pelota making his way through the last couple of corners. Jeff Jacobs hangs on to second with some rear end damage after Kyle Herbst gave him the punt. Herbst drives in deep again, but out of the final corner, Andrew Pelota with an immense last lap pass in the number 96 will come out of the final corner and take the round 4 checkered flag in the Mustang class.
Actually, wait, did he? I think he's not crossed the line. There's a line.
Just to make sure.
And yeah, and great job by Jeff Jacobs to stay ahead of Herbst. He got a little bit of a punt on those last few corners, but was able to hold on to it.
Stephen Ott, Paul Gibson now battling here. This is 7/10 of a second difference. Oh, here comes the 31 of Paul Gibson. Closes up big time on Stephen Ott in the final corner. Not going to be enough. I think Ott, is he out of fuel?
I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, looks like that's a terrible camera angle. Notice the tail.
Not going to be enough.
Stephen Ott, Paul Gibson, side by side of the line. Ott will take 4th, Gibson for 5th. Behind them, Monaghan and Fitzgerald. Monaghan's gotten back around Fitzgerald. That'll be 6th and 7th in class.
Oh, and Fitzgerald's really slow.
Is he slow?
Yeah.
Oh, he's out of fuel, Fitzgerald.
Yeah, you can see the engine. You can see the car kind of trying to get some fuel. He's got someone behind coming up. That's Badia.
Is he going to get there in time?
I think he is.
Oh,
there,
barely.
and there's Obadia. Nope, there's Obadia. There we go.
All right, let's head back here. Oh, looks like Louis Alessi's out of fuel, or at least he ran wide. And Brian Saab will get around him in the final corner. 10th and 11th place for Saab and Alessi, respectively. Now back to the MX-5 battle.
I believe they finished. He just came across the line.
Alessandrini, domination so far this season. Picks up yet another victory. House Seal, a disappointing 2nd place finish for him. Paul Darling will come across the line in 3rd. And Elias Roman still working on the back straightaway here, but that looks like that's going to be pretty much it. Sam Scott out of fuel. On the looks like he might be done. Race over.
Across the line.
Oh, well, that was quite the end of a race.
Yeah, that was. Was indeed.
Okay, I need to take a break for a minute. We'll be back in just a few minutes with your race winner and others. Stay with us. Welcome back live here to Sim TV. We're now here with race winner Andrew Pelota. Andrew, that was quite the last lap there. Last lap move, some pushing and shoving, and narrowly avoided getting taken out from behind there in the last couple of corners after Jeff Jacobs got a punt. But fuel saving towards the end of the race got a little bit wild, but walk us through the last couple minutes.
Well, we actually kind of tried to fuel save the entire race just to try to get to the end. It didn't actually work as well as I thought it would. So we really hypermiled there at the end. And I kind of noticed Jeff was doing the same thing because he would catch up to me when I would coast and then he would drop back big time. And I knew we were all going to basically wait till like the last lap or two to try to make a move. And Jeff was actually the first one to make a move, but we all kind of followed him and we had a pretty good battle there in the last lap. Absolutely.
And what about the battle with you and Kyle Herbst? There was a lot of give and take there, especially heading up towards the S's portion. There was a couple side-by-side moments. What was that like there, side-by-side through the S's?
Pretty scary. I should be dead. But yeah, that was part of our fuel strategy, was to try to draft each other. And it didn't really work as well as I was hoping it would. But it worked out in the end.
All right, Andrew. Well, another victory for you here this year in the number 96 Mustang. It was a pleasure talking with you and watching you get another race win. Thanks for talking to us.
Thanks.
All right, next on the interview booth will be Jeff Jacobs, driver number 38 Mustang. Jeff, what a remarkable last lap. There was lots of chaos there, especially at the end of the back straight heading into the last couple corners. Walk us through your last few laps.
Hey, absolutely! What a blast! That whole race was, and we knew coming in, just looking at the fuel mileage, that there was going to have to be some saving going on. And so, if you weren't in the draft and you were leading the pack, you had to be a little bit conservative to save fuel, or you're going to have to come in for a third tank. But it looks like everybody was sort of thinking the same thing at the front of the field, and we were trying to work with each other. But when it became clear that there was going to be just one lap to go and we had enough fuel, then it was on. And I got the pass done, going down the back straight the next to last time. And but Andrew, man, he just charged right back in there, made a real nice clean pass there. And then yeah, like you said, at the top of the roller coaster there in that last lap, that was a bit of an emergency braking with a little help from Kyle there. But we got it all done. Exciting racing and a good group.
Absolutely. It was fun to watch you. And that was, again, that last lap battle. Talk us through the last back straightaway there with Kyle and Andrew. Was there any point that you thought you still could get around Andrew, or was it just about defending that second spot?
Oh, no, I was still looking for an opportunity because, you get into that last lap, the pressure's on, plenty of opportunities to make mistakes, especially with this big, heavy car. It's a little hard to get it turned up there at the top of the roller coaster. And there was also the chance that Andrew maybe had a little bit less fuel, and if he sputtered at all going to that start-finish line, we were going to be able to zip by him. So it was all out for that final couple corners.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you again, and a nice, solid second-place finish for you tonight, Jeff. We'll talk to you next week.
Hey, thanks so much. Great broadcast.
Thank you very much. Next on the list will be the third-place Mustang driver, Kyle Herbst. Kyle, wow. Can't say enough about how phenomenal that battle was to watch between you and Andrew for the majority of the race, but came home a couple spots short of the victory, and Jeff Jacobs kind of snuck in there and stole a spot away from the end. Talk us through that last lap.
Yeah, it was essentially a big game of chess. Andrew and I were kind of teaming together to try to save fuel and going back and forth. And I think on that back straight, Jeff just kind of caught us with our pants down, so to speak, and kind of made the jump before Andrew and I were even ready to make the jump. And he kind of split us. Well, he actually took the lead, and Andrew was able to get it back. And fortunately, I was just caught too far back.
Walk us through the last couple corners. There was a little bit of contact between you and Jeff leading into the final sector of the racetrack. Obviously, that was probably unintentional there, but it was certainly exciting to watch you get on those brakes.
Yeah, unintentional. I think Jeff may have checked up just a little bit early. Early in the races, I knew that, going through roller coaster and the final complex into the front straight, I could pull on Jeff a couple tenths. So I was hopefully trying to set up for that and get right on his tail, but may have gotten a little bit too close.
All right, Kyle, it was fun watching you again, and a nice solid podium finish for you and that number 89. Good luck to you next week.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll move on to the MX-5 category, and we'll be talking to race winner DJ Alessandrini. And DJ, it seems like we've talked to you pretty much every week so far. And
yeah, it's going pretty well this year.
It's going pretty well for you so far. And obviously there was some really, really intense battles between you and Kenneth Hausiel, especially going through the S's. Talk us through that, and then obviously the rest of your race.
You know, we were playing nice for a while just because we wanted to make the gap to the other Miatas. And I thought it would be funny if I passed him in the S's. And then it just kind of started into like, where's the silly places we can pass each other and not die? So that race turned into silly season really fast, but man, it was a lot of fun.
It certainly looked like a lot of fun. I was really jealous, actually. Those MX-5s looked like a lot of fun to swing around here. What did you feel like did you feel like you could pass anywhere? Because the Mustangs were really making their passes in turn one, but you guys were passing pretty much in every corner.
Yeah, anywhere basically where you're in fifth gear, just because the draft's so strong, you could really wedge your car in there and just make the space. And the grass is so off camber and slippery that the risk of getting doored off the track by being aggressive is far too great to really to really, like, you know, put your elbows out. So you kind of like, oh, okay, we're right next to each other. I guess we'll play nice with each other.
Well,
so
it was a blast to watch you again, and we head into the next couple of races. So far, it's been all the DJ Alessandrini show, but what's the track you got circled coming up on the schedule here in a couple weeks?
Oh man, VRR's, like the one we just did, is really great. Watkins Glen's gonna be real fun. I think we're running the one with the bus stop or the chicane or whatever they call it.
Yep.
That's gonna be really fun. It's not my best track, but I did use that track to qualify for the Mazda Hot Lap Challenge. So I got some time on the track. So we'll see how I compare to Ken. Ken's been faster than me, actually. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but he's been faster than me, just outright pace. He's just making a couple mistakes here and there. So if Ken has a mistake-free race, we'll be rubbing mirrors off toward the finish line the entire time.
I'll leave you with a little bit of data from that I can see here from my timing screen. Your best lap was a 10th quicker than Ken, so you still got it by a little bit.
Yeah.
It's pretty close, but it was fun watching you two battle. But thanks for talking to us, and hopefully we'll chat with you again next week.
All right. As always, thanks, guys.
No problem. All right, and last but not least, we're going to talk to Ken Hausiel, driver of the number 23 MX-5. And Ken, again, a very solid finish. Can't be too disappointed, but again, I think it looked like you had the best pace out there out of anybody, but a couple mistakes took you out of the running.
Yeah, DJ and I were having a lot of fun just sort of driving around, beating each other up a little bit. But I think I had the pace, but like you said, a couple mistakes didn't work out my way this week.
And of course, VIR was a fun race this week, but next week we go to Watkins Glen International. Different but the same. It's still a very twisty track, but a little bit higher speed, and we saw a lot of the draft come into play here this week. Are you looking forward to next week? Is it circled on your schedule? Are you a little bit nervous for it? Walk us through those feelings.
It should be interesting. I like the track. I like the draft battles you get there. I'm not sure how well to work with multi-class, so that'll be interesting because it's such a draft-heavy track. I mean, we got to let them by, but if you lose the draft, you're kind of lost then.
Absolutely, but it was good talking to you, Ken, and congrats on another podium. It's been a good year for you so far.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
See ya. With that, that'll conclude our interviews here. Dominic, we saw some incredible battles out there today. Pelota and Jacobs and Herbst, the three Mustangs, and of course Alessandrini and Hausiel so far. But let's take a step back and look at the season as a whole so far. We've had 3 races with the MX-5 and Mustang format. What's the best, the most exciting thing that you've seen so far in terms of the racing? Because it's pretty fun stuff to watch out there.
I think in general, mixed class racing offers a challenge for both the classes where they have to, one, find their strengths in different parts of the course, and also learn to cooperate with one another on track, because for a lot of these drivers who may not have done this in real life, where they're in a production class where there's multiple classes on the track at the same time, it's something to get used to. And I think they've adapted to that challenge very well. And in terms of having what we see, especially what we saw today, was these breakaways at the front of the field and as we saw with that on that last lap with the Mustangs, that one car that was really shadowing the others toward the end ended up advantaging himself a position because of a mistake that his competitor made. So that's why you always have to be in the throttle and never yield your charge, so to speak. And because anything can happen, you can find yourself in a podium spot or even for a win because of, you know, unforeseen circumstances that you didn't see coming early on.
All right, Dominic. So that is VIR completed, round number 4 here. We got a couple exciting things coming up on SimTV the next couple days. Tomorrow night, we have IndyCar action from Detroit, a dual race tomorrow. We got the Detroit Duels from the Fuel IndyCar League. That'll be starting at 9 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow night on SimTV. Friday night, Hardline Cup Series action from Michigan. Saturday, Virtual Racing League from New Hampshire. That's what's coming up on our plate the next couple days. A fantastic race again. For the virtual Mid-Atlantic Road Racing Series. We'll be back next week from Watkins Glen International. We'll see you next week.